The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. It is state championship week, and we asked for something late last week, and by God, the football god, Small G, gave it to us. We get both of our local teams in the state championship, and both teams will be playing someone from the Midwest Athletic Conference. Let the games begin.
And wow, both teams won in very impressive fashion, too. I mean, both defenses really stepped up this week. I mean, JFK's defense has been playing well all playoffs, but Springfield's coming off a game where their defense, they struggled a little bit. So their defense came back and held a good Fort Fry team to 13 points, and I think that was a kind of a acknowledgement for their defense. I don't think anyone on that defensive staff was necessarily happy with how the game last week went. So props to the Tigers defense for stepping up and really winning that game, because Fort Fry's defense was up to the challenge, and it was a slugfest all night. So the Tigers defense came up with some stops, especially right before halftime. I think that was the biggest stop of the game. So great job to both teams, and let's go. We're in state championship week. It doesn't get any better. We have two teams in the state championship with chances to both bring home a trophy.
Yeah, and it should be an awful lot of fun. Again, one public school, one private school. We have numbers all over the place in terms of the success from this area, the success of the Midwest Athletic Conference. What the two teams, New Bremen will be playing JFK. Coldwater will be playing Springfield. We have numbers all over the place that are going to blow your mind in a lot of scenarios. But let me just say this about the end of the Springfield game. For those who acknowledge Bo Brungard is an amazing quarterback, I think Bo Brungard reminded everyone, not only is he a great quarterback, he is also an elite defensive player when need be. Making that tackle or going in on the tackle to stop the potential winning touchdown by a full yard. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. It was a very, very special defensive uprising by Springfield that got them into the state title game.
Things got kind of heated for both teams towards the end. I mean, JFK had a 20-6 lead, and all of a sudden here comes their opponent right back, and then Springfield had to kind of fight and claw for the end of their game too. So how about that? Like, both teams just kind of holding the fort, taking the team's best punch at the end of the game and coming out on top. That says a lot about both teams.
Yeah, this is just going to be a phenomenal week. I think the JFK and Springfield both in solid position. The Mahoning Valley, they've played 40 games in state title games since 1972, when the OHSAA made perhaps the best decision they've ever made. Not that they've made a lot of great decisions, but perhaps the best decision they ever made. The fact that they no longer allowed the AP to crown the champions. They were going to earn the championship on the field. Since 1972, the Mahoning Valley has taken part in 40 state championship games. The Valley, 21 wins, 19 losses.
That's a winning record.
It's a winning record, and here's the thing. One year, 1973, Cardinal Mooney played and beat Warren Western Reserve 14-3 for a state championship. It is the one and only time where we have had an all-local state championship game. And how this happened.
I kind of want to say it'll never happen again, but it's happening up in Akron. I mean, you got Hoban and Massillon playing each other in Division II in a state championship. So things can get wacky, and you never know if a team's going to be ending up playing in a state championship from a local kind of standpoint.
Yeah,
so it could very well happen again sometime in the future.
It's absolutely amazing. The folks in Stark and Summit County, they're looking at this going,
I don't know how that happened. Like, shouldn't they be on the same side of the state bracket to play each other in at least the state semifinals?
They were in the same region. If you remember, they were in the same region, and then halfway through the season, they bounced Massillon, Washington to the Columbus part of the region.
Yeah, but when you're pairing up the regions, wouldn't you say, Massillon, Hoban, let's put them in the same side of the state final four?
Well, I think the fly in the ointment was Avon.
Okay.
And the fact that there was another northern tier school further north than Massillon, so geographically it made sense to have Hoban play Avon in the state semifinals, and then Massillon had to wind up playing the defending champs down from Cincinnati. And as it turns out, these two teams separated by maybe 15 minutes apart.
If that.
They're going to be playing in Columbus instead of neutral location.
And that brings up a good point. If you expand our little coverage area a little bit and make it this Northeast Ohio, we have representation in all divisions.
The entire 2 through 7. Now, Division 1, we didn't have representation.
No, but we don't have a Division 1
But we don't have a
school.
Division 1 school, exactly. To Divisions 2 through 7, we have representation in Northeastern Ohio. Proving once again that Northeastern Ohio is alive and well for high school football. So there you go. All right, we're going to take a phone call real quick. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. Rich, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What up, brother?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Having a great day. Beautiful outside.
Yeah, it is. It's a little chilly, but yeah, I'll take it.
And, not bad for the middle of November.
No, I'll take
it.
it.
I remember, Ron, in shows past where you made a statement that Mahoning Valley has a really good high school football program, all considered Trumbull County, et cetera. But we are not the strongest in the state, man. You got Cleveland, you got Cincinnati, and I got to tell you, we may have a winning record, but that has a lot to be said because there's a whole lot more talent out there, and these guys are kicking butt, and I love it.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been an awful lot of fun. I haven't broken down the numbers. We've broken them down: public school record, private school record, the record since 2000. It's fascinating numbers, and we'll do that through the course of the show today.
The young man, the quarterback from Springfield, this kid has a future.
Oh, there's no doubt, and he's a junior, and I can only imagine how many schools are calling him and knocking on his door and sending him emails and all kinds of other stuff because Bo Brungard is special. No two ways about that.
Oh yeah, like you said, offensively or defensively, this kid's got a future.
Well, look, I mean, and that's the beautiful part of it, Rich. I mean, if someone looks at him and says, "Well, we really can't use him at quarterback," but my God. The way he plays the safety position, and he's able to come in and support the run. No, I'll take him in a heartbeat. So clearly, I think all of us think that he's going to be going places as a quarterback. But some coaches may look at him and say, "No, we'd rather have him as a defensive back because he's equally as good as a DB."
I'd like to compare him. I'm going out on a limb here. But to that kid that's backup quarterback for Drew Brees.
Who, Jameis?
A lot of talent.
Oh, are you talking about Jameis Winston, or are you talking about the other kid?
The backup for Drew Brees. The guy who does quarterback and defense or running back.
I know who you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good company, brother.
No, there's no doubt. No doubt about that.
Let me get on to the Browns. Did a pretty good job yesterday. The running game. Welcome to the AFC North, Houston. So I can say about that.
Listen, that first time since the late '60s when two running backs both ran for 100 yards for Cleveland. So that was pretty cool.
kudos to the offensive line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you get Teller back, and Teller's just having a fantastic year, and he's one of the guys that are making a difference up there, no doubt.
Yeah, and one of the quiet guys that doesn't get much song is Baconio. What a beast!
Well, I mean, the entire line has done quite well. They opened up holes for Hunt as well as Chubb, and it was a good win. Good win for the Browns.
Okay, I don't want to bust your butt, but man, your defense looks like the Big 12 out there yesterday.
Well, I mean, look, I don't have any issues with the Hail Mary because as a Bills fan, I'll be the first to admit that pass by Murray was ungodly, and the catch was ungodly. But what bothered me, that whole scenario, was they played a prevent defense that entire time, which that's another example of prevent defenses are useless in the NFL. They should have never gone to that defense, except for maybe the last play. But even then, I don't go prevent defense.
Prevent means prevent the win.
There you go. Exactly.
All right, guys, have a great day. Thanks for the vine.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, that was just a hell of a throw. It was a great catch, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's mad respect, because that doesn't work. I mean, how many you throw it 100 times? How many times is it going to work?
Unless you're Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah, once, twice. Mad respect to Arizona for pulling that off.
But I do want to kind of correct something we said earlier, just because we like to be correct. Hoban and Massillon are actually a lot farther than you would think, because you think Akron, Massillon not that far. It's like 40 minutes away from each other.
What?
Yeah, 36, 35, 40 minutes away. I actually did it. One, I got text from our partners, and then I also looked it up on Google Maps while Rich was talking. It's 35 minutes away.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that far away.
It's about 35 to 40 minutes away from each other.
Interesting.
Still very close geographically.
Well, it's pretty close geographically. I mean, it's kind of like Mooney and Harding or Mooney and Reserve back in 73, about 30, 35 minutes apart, if that. Yeah. All right. I'm surprised by that because Massillon is south and west of Canton. Wouldn't that put them closer to Akron? I don't know. My Ohio geography sucks. There's no two ways about that. So
Hoban is all the way north of North Canton, and then Massillon is like almost straight.
Okay, so Akron's north of Canton.
Right.
Okay. Now that explains it. That explains it because Massillon is south and west of Canton. For whatever strange reason, I thought that Akron was due west of Canton and not north of Canton. So, yeah, that's like I said, my Ohio geography sucks. Somewhere my junior high teacher, Paul Mers, is just shaking his head going, yep, I raised a dummy.
There's Potesta.
Yeah, I raised a dummy.
You were doodling in my class instead of paying attention.
Well, hey, don't give away my secrets.
That's why I never took notes, by the way. I never handwrote notes because I'd always catch myself just doodling or something. It was so distracting. So people are like, why don't you take notes? And, I'm just not a good note taker.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't take notes because
too easily distracted.
Left-handed, and I had never learned to write properly left-handed. When you're left-handed, 9 times out of 10, you're going like this. So you're moving your hand into the pencil lead or the pen ink, and you're getting all your hand all screwed up with all kinds of garbage on it because I was never taught to properly do this. Had I gone to a Catholic school, my knuckles would have been broken 50 times, and then I would have been able to do this for fear of getting my ass kicked. So there you go. All right, 330-886-0813. Running Points, Monday through Friday, noon to 3, brought to you in part by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Okay, let's run down some numbers. As we mentioned, the Valley has played in 40 state championship games. Now,
that's higher than I would have thought. Because we've talked about how good we've done since 2013 or 2015.
Yes,
but that's still a high number. Since when?
Since 1972.
Okay, well that's a big.
Yeah. Now, to give everyone an idea, 1972 to 1979, there were only 3 classifications. You had AAA, AA, and A. In 1980, they changed that and went D1 through D5. D1 being the big school, D5 being the small schools. And that was around for a while. Then they went to 6, and then they went to 7. So 40 games since 1972. That's pretty good. Public schools are 7-11 in the state championship game.
It's not bad. It's not bad
since 1972. Private schools are 14-8. The only all-local matchup occurred in 1973, the AAA state championship. Cardinal Mooney defeated Warren Western Reserve 14-3 in front of close to 30,000 people at the Akron Rubber Bowl. They had the AAA game there. They did not have all 3 games played in the same joint. The OHSAA at the time had neutral games for the 2 teams, and they would play them in 3 different sites instead of playing the entire state championship game in one weekend, one site. Since 2000, private schools are 9-5. So private schools have won 9 state championships since 2000. Since 2000, public schools have gone to 4 state title games, and they've lost all 4 of them. The last public school to win a state championship game, Paul Julia coached the Poland Bulldogs to the 1999 state championship, the first school to go 15-0 in the history of Ohio high school football.
And I think that, open enrollment has changed things, and to say it hasn't is kind of naive. So as the years go on, we're going to see that kind of change. I think public schools, back in the day, they were kind of hampered because, of course, they were just only what you had is all you had. That's it. And now with open enrollment, I think a lot of more public schools around the whole state are going to start to crack that little code a little bit. And, I think we're going to see that number change dramatically now that everyone's kind of on an even playing field, and it's been that way for a while.
We got some numbers that we're going to be passing by throughout the show. Dana Balish will be joining the show at 1 o'clock. We'll get his take on a number of things. That is coming up in about 43 minutes or so. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll dive into some of the numbers. Springfield has a history against the Midwest Athletic Conference. So does Warren JFK. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other stuff and take your phone calls. The MPV Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. Back in a bit. It is a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown, or in Austintown.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts
boy is recovering from a broken
around our valley.
Community in Niles. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect.
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, Count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Before we get into the state championship particulars and as far as numbers go, congratulations to the Howland Tigers for winning the Division II soccer championship in it's the equivalent of a 56-0 game in football. They completely dominated their state title game.
Also want to congratulate Mooney first.
Absolutely.
Because they're just one of our teams. And,
absolutely,
on a fantastic season. They played well. They didn't play terribly against Marymount. Marymount just jumped ahead early, and it was kind of hard to come back from the early onslaught. But when you look at the stats, it really wasn't that lopsided. 8-4 shots on goal, 19-11 for shots, and Mooney actually had 4 saves compared to Marymount's 3. So I mean, Mooney's defense, has been great all year. That was the first game in 9 matches that they hadn't let a goal score. They had a great season, a great run through the playoffs, and we are definitely proud that they're a part of the YSN family, and congratulations on a great season in the Cardinals.
No two ways about it. That was they ran into a buzzsaw, unfortunately. Marymount,
and it was early. It was just an early kind of onslaught. It got really even after that, and that's one of the things that kind of makes you go, ugh, because it was definitely an even soccer match from about the second half on. It was just it took a minute to kind of adjust to what Marymount was doing.
Yeah, Marymount, they got a couple of goals in the span of about 2 minutes. And when you do that, I mean, you're on a pretty interesting roll. And soccer, there's not many goals scored when you get into the state tournament. And, you fall behind. It's tough to get back into the game. But,
also 17 fouls on Mooney. That kind of hurt them.
Mm-hmm. And as we've both said, I think so many times that I don't want to say all of us in the media do this, but a good chunk of us do, where, okay, we're going to celebrate the win, the teams that win, and we don't really celebrate the runner-up or someone that gets bounced in the state semifinals. But here's a dose of reality for everyone. If you get to the state semifinals, in any team sport, if you get to the state semifinals, you have done something truly amazing. You really have. And I think Cardinal Mooney's to be congratulated for their run.
Even the non-team sports. I mean, if you do it in tennis or running or whatever it may be.
Sure.
My word, the people that you have to beat and the amount of – you're at the top echelons of the state no matter what you're doing. If you're at that level, you're at the top tier. And it's very commendable. And, of course, you want to win a state championship. That's the ultimate goal when you get there. But – after that sting of losing a state championship wears away, you realize that what you did was extremely special.
Yeah, and there's no question it was an extremely special season for Cardinal Mooney.
And there are a lot of schools that wish they had the opportunity.
No doubt.
They don't. So,
absolutely.
Now, talking about Howland's onslaught, 20 shots to 9, and then 10-2 shots on goal. So Tippy Canoe, who was on a 47-game winning streak, by the way, had 2 shots on goal the whole match. 2. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a dominating performance. And Howland is, other than St. Ignatius, they might be the best soccer team in the state of Ohio.
Four different players scored a goal for Howland. And Jordan Sperling, he scored 2. So It's
crazy
remarkable.
good.
And everyone in the soccer community kind of said it. Once Howland beat Bay, it's pretty much the state championship. I think they all saw it this year. Tippecanoe wasn't exactly what they were last year. They lost seniors or whatever it may be. But when the coaches voted those two teams 1 and 2 and they played each other, I think everyone kind of knew when Howland beat Bay, it was like, well, if they just take care of business, they're going to win state. And that's what they did.
Kudos to the coaching staff. Once they did beat Bay, they reminded them,
Right.
hey, look, you still got some work to do. You still got to win 3 games in order to win a state championship. Even though you slayed the quote beast, you still got 3 games where a team can come up and get you.
By the way, Justin Durkin scored the lone Mooney goal for them in their 4-1 loss. So I want to give a shout out to him because scoring a goal in a state championship game,
nothing wrong with that.
That's an accomplishment.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. We're going to try to get 2 state champions this week. JFK will play on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock as they will be taking on New Bremen from the Midwest Athletic Conference. New Bremen has never won a state championship.
And they were in a dogfight in the state semis. They were up 28-20. The team scored a touchdown with about 3 seconds left, and they were about this short from tying the game on the 2-point conversion. So very close. Both games in the semifinals were very close, very good knockdown, drag-out games, and it's going to be fun.
No question. Going to be an awful lot of fun. Warren JFK is 1-1 against the Midwest Athletic Conference. They were defeated by St. Henry in 2006, 28-7. They beat Minster 24-6 for their one of 2 state championships. The other state championship won by Warren JFK happened in 1991. They defeated Springfield, not our Springfield team, but Springfield located just outside of Cincinnati, in the Dayton-Cincinnati area. JFK defeated Springfield to win the 1991 state title 20-7. JFK has been in the state title game 5 times. They're 2-3. And, we talked with Coach Perlogo, and Coach Perlogo has often said that this team is trying to sit in the same table as the 1991 JFK team and the 2016 JFK team. And now we're 1 win away from putting the 2020
as far as I'm
team
concerned,
on
they're
the
already
table.
sitting at the table for what they've done. I mean, I know I get it. You have to win the state championship to really be at the table. But if this is a table, I mean, JFK is like sitting at the end of it right here, right now, because of things that they've already done this season in a pandemic-led season. It's incredible what they've done. How about Cam Hollabaugh?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We've run out of words. I put out on Twitter that we've never seen Superman and Cam Hollabaugh in the same place at the same time. It's not a coincidence.
Does he wear the Clark Kent glasses?
I saw him do this once, and I thought, uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully he wakes up feeling dangerous on Friday. JFK total, in 1989, they appeared in their first state championship game. They lost to Wheelersburg 17-7.
Wheelersburg.
Yeah, I know, Wheelersburg. It's kind of like the Seinfeld equivalent of Newman. 91, 2 years later, JFK won their first state championship, beating Springfield 20-7. They damn near repeated. Cincinnati Cape, that Cincinnati something Academy of Physical Education. The Cincinnati Cape defeated JFK. Cape was loaded that year. I remember that. Cape defeating JFK 17-16. That was one of Tony Nappolet's best teams ever assembled at JFK, and unfortunately, they ran into one of the greatest teams ever assembled.
And they only lost by what?
And they only lost by 1 point. That Cape team was ridiculously loaded, and JFK lost 17-16.
That's why they played the game, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, nothing is won on paper, and
amen to that.
We're gonna glance over how good this conference that the teams that our teams are playing against are. But we don't want that to diminish the fact that the games aren't played on paper. And
no, you play.
I don't care how good this conference is. I mean, all that is fun conversation. But on Friday and Sunday, it's
doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean nothing.
2006, JFK was defeated by St. Henry 28-7. 2016, JFK knocked off Minster by the final score of 24-6. JFK is 1-1 against the Midwest Athletic Conference. Springfield played last year in their one and only state championship game. They went up against a team that had never won a state title out of the Midwest Athletic Conference in Anna. Last year, Anna defeated Springfield 48-14. Springfield back for a second bite at the apple. This is the second public school to go back-to-back in a state championship game. The last public school to go back-to-back in a state title appearance from the Mahoning Valley, you got to go back to the inception. In 1972, Warren Western Reserve blew out Cincinnati Princeton in the first AAA state championship game ever put on by the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Reserve beat Princeton 37-6. That next year, Cardinal Mooney beat Warren Western Reserve 14-3 in front of close to 30,000 fans at the Akron Rubber Bowl. That is the last time that a public school from this area has ever gone back-to-back. That's pretty amazing that Springfield is in really good company with the Warren Western Reserve teams from the early 70s.
Yeah, they were set up for success this year. I mean, they didn't lose a lot from last year's team, and they just had that bad taste in their mouth because I know that they didn't bring their A game into that state championship because they had never been there before. And Sean Guerrero said it in our post-game show that last year when they got to that point, he didn't really know what to say to them because it was just so uncharted territory. This year, you know exactly what to say because you've been there before. You've been there. You've done that. You're not going to get caught in the lights. And I promise you we're going to see a different Springfield team in this state championship than we saw last year.
Yeah, now last year, the team that played them, they also had never won a state title game. I think they were in one, but I have to look. But this year, Springfield goes up against a team that's won 6 titles in Coldwater. And
when was their last one, though?
That's a great question. I think
6 titles, but
2015 because they did a 4-peat like Ursuline did. So it's been a while.
So no one on that team has been
exactly.
So it's
exactly. It's
it's really Springfield's a more experienced team at this point.
Exactly. You have to put an asterisk next to the 6 titles because, as you mentioned, Anthony, there's the last time Coldwater won a state title was 2015. The class of 2021 were in 7th grade. Right. The last time that Coldwater won a state title.
When I see that tells me that Coldwater is going to be the team that has more pressure because their kids probably are seeing, we got to live up to our legacy. We got to live up to this program. It's the same when I go into Mooney's gym. I go and I look around. I go,
oh yeah.
It must be a lot of pressure to be an athlete here because that gym is loaded with state championship banners, and it's daunting. It's daunting to look up there and be like, I got to kind of try to live up to this legacy a little bit. And I'm sure the Coldwater, student athletes are kind of trying to live up to that as well, trying to get the program back to what there was, and that's a lot of pressure to put on a high school kid.
This is going to be a fascinating matchup.
They might have more pressure on them than the Springfield team that is trying to get to their first state championship really ever.
By the way, this is going to be the last of the 6 state championship games. They have put this game on Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m., and I got to be honest.
Thank God it's not at 10 like last year. They had to play at 10 in the morning last year.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Of the 6 games, This one's right up there as far as games that I'm looking forward to watching. I mean, throw the that's part of our family out the window and put it aside for a second. From a casual fan who doesn't have a dog in the hunt, I'm looking at this and going, this one is right up there with Massillon and Hoban. It's right up there with Kirtland and Ironton. As far as I'm concerned,
all of them are going to be.
All of them are going to be great, but Springfield and Coldwater, this one is right up there with the rest of them.
Division III, Chardon might run away with that. I mean, they've looked head and shoulders above everybody. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chardon makes that a.
DeSales is pretty good.
I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun game.
I think it might be 34-14 or something. I mean,
yeah, it's going to be a fun game. And for those that are wondering. public school and private school. We have a public-private school matchup in D7, a public-private school matchup in D2, a public matchup in D5, a public-private school matchup in D3, a public-private school matchup in D4, and a all-public matchup in D6.
Like we said, I mean, that used to be a big storyline.
It isn't now with open enrollment.
It's the world has changed, and there are some schools that are hanging on and not open enrollment, but most of them are, and most of them, if they're not, they're gonna probably be forced to be in the years to come.
Yep.
It's a different time. You can't. It's that conversation is kind of irrelevant now. To say where they're a private school, they get to have their pick of kids. It's like, well, now open enrollment, you kind of do too.
Open enrollment was the great equalizer,
right.
And those that have open enrollment, they've been taking advantage of that. Those that don't have open enrollment, well, my hat is off.
I mean, Springfield doesn't. So.
And again, my hat is off to the people that don't have an open enrollment and can still go to the state championship. That's where you tip your hat to Springfield and say, my gosh, what an amazing school. An amazing run that this school is on athletically as the football team is showing the way. We've made mention Springfield and JFK will both be playing teams from the Midwest Athletic Conference. This is a conference that got together first in 1972, started out with about 6 teams. It's grown to about 10 or 11. They did not win their first state title until 1989. But since winning their first title in 1989, now you got to remember, this is 31 straight years of football. They have won a state title every year with the exception of 5 years from 1989 to 2019. It's a really cool conference. It really is. It's a.
Well, when you look at it, they're all very close together.
Yes.
Not separated by a lot. It's kind of like North Carolina, Duke, NC State, and Wake Forest, where they're just beating each other up. They're going 5 minutes down the road to beat each other up, and it's all in kind of a rural area, so there's no city to kind of take kids away from that conference.
And they all have a gentleman's agreement where they don't touch other kids from other schools.
And they're kids that know 2 things: football and work, and that's it.
That's it.
It's this hard-nosed kind of, that's the lifestyle down there, and it breeds really good football.
It really does.
The same reason why like the Midwest states have really good football. You're talking about like Nebraska high school football, Missouri high school football. You can throw Iowa and probably Illinois in there too.
Yeah, Illinois is good.
That hard-nosed mentality kind of breeds really good high school football.
We have played 12 games with a state title on the line against this conference. This conference is 4-5 against the parochial schools. JFK's 1-1 against the Midwest Athletic Conference. Mooney and Ursuline have done most of the damage. We're 5-4 against them, and unfortunately, we've not won a state title game in 3 shots in our public schools. Our public schools have had 3 opportunities. Now, 2 of the opportunities were a while back, and both of them were by McDonald. McDonald lost to Minster in 1989, 16-7, and they lost to St. Henry in 1994, 21-7. Not way. Well, I don't want to say way back because that was after I graduated, and that would make me really old, and I'm not.
It's way back, Ron.
Stop that! You stop that right now, Mister. The one since the turn of the century, and now, my God, now I really feel old. Since the turn of the century. We have only played 1 game against that conference. Our public schools have only played 1 state championship game, and that was last year, Anna defeating Springfield. Look, the numbers are the numbers. I think we have a shot. I definitely think we're winning 1. The law of averages is going to say that we're going to split, but I think that this time it feels a little bit different. I think that we have a really good shot to win both games.
If this week went like last week for Springfield, where it was just a shootout and they won based this because their offense was prolific, I would be a little less confident that they were going to win this week. But the fact that they proved in the state semifinal that they can win in multiple ways. I mean, they can win a defensive 16-13 grudge match. They don't care. And that just kind of makes me a little bit more confident even in the Tigers' ability to go win a state championship, because if you want to keep the ball away from Bo Brungard and that offense, they're more than willing to go play defense and beat you with their kicking game. They have one of the best kickers in the state. I mean, you saw Fort Fry. They went for it on 4th and goal before halftime because they didn't trust their kicker from the 1-yard line. So having a kicking game is going to be a major advantage for Springfield in this state championship.
Now, how surprised were you? I mean, when you kick an extra point, you're snapping it from the 3-yard line. So this isn't an extra point. This is actually 2 yards closer than an extra point.
Well, he was,
that's surprising to me that they didn't want to do this.
Yeah, well, we saw. I mean, the field goal kicker, he wasn't kicking well in warm-ups. I think they already missed an extra point prior to that. They just had no faith in their kicking game. And in high school football, there's a lot of teams that are in that same boat. There aren't a lot of teams that have really good kickers that can hit, a 40-yard field goal. And that's going to be an advantage for Springfield too, because if they get down to the 15-yard line, they're in scoring.
You're in field
threat.
goal range.
So
yeah.
I think that I was very impressed that Springfield was able to win in a different kind of way in the state semifinals. Showed how versatile they are as a team, and they won. Well, you look at the stats. Bo Brungard did not have his prototypical game. I think Fort Fry really keyed in on him, and the other members of that team stepped up and had good games. Clay Medvac had a really good game. Austin Tyndall had a really good game. So they can win in multiple ways, and that's what you need to do to win a state championship.
One of the things I was impressed with was he went 13 of 15 throwing the ball,
Efficient.
which was very efficient. He didn't turn the ball over. But you're right. I mean, they did a pretty nice job keying on him in terms of him running. They did a real nice job containing him on the run.
And when teams do that, the other players have to step up. And for Springfield, they did, especially when it really mattered the most.
Yeah,
And that tackle that Medvick made in the end of the half, I mean, he got off his block really well, and he went right in and made a great tackle. So I think he was the player of the game for the state championship, because he put the cape on at the end too and hit the game-winning field goal. So MVP of the state semifinal for sure.
It was a hell of a win, and now they get to go up against Coldwater and hopefully an opportunity to win.
Put them in hot water.
Their first I saw what you did with that. Their first state championship for Springfield, and for the area, our first state championship by a public school since Paul Julia coached the Poland Bulldogs to a state title back in 1999. That's a number that, with all due respect to Coach Julia, who has done an unbelievable job at Leetonia, that's a statistic that I'm really getting tired of saying, because I want to have it changed. It's time for us, for a public school in this area, to win a state championship.
You got a really good chance today.
Hey, got a solid
Not today,
chance.
but this week.
Got a solid chance to win one. And again, here's your schedule for the state title games. All of the games are going to be played at the Fortress. Fortress Obetz, one-sided stadium. It's
made out of shipping containers.
Yeah. Yeah. One-sided stadium, kind of like Stambaugh before they put bleachers on the other side, except that it's a smaller version.
One-sided in a like, I know it's not capacity this year, so you don't have to worry about it, but if they stay there, putting both teams in one stance is asking for a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion.
No, there's no two ways about that. They used to do that with Lisbon. But the old stadium in Lisbon had one-sided stands, and I was like, oh boy, putting us and Lisbon in the same stands, that's asking for trouble. Let's go to the phone lines. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on?
Hey, Ron, this is Anthony Roma. I broadcasted the Springfield game Saturday night.
What up, brother?
We were talking about it. How are you?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Just wanted to come on and give a little bit of my insight about the game.
Please do.
Romo, we were talking about how impressive it was that Springfield proved that they can win in a different way. It wasn't a offensive explosion. It was more of a defensive, ball control type game. How impressed were you that Springfield showed their versatility to win in a defensive grudge match?
I think that really proved big last Saturday night, because coming into that game, we knew that Springfield could put up a lot of points, And finally, last week they had faced adversity against North Wayne, but they let their offense do the work and they prevailed. So I think that last Saturday night was big, that their defense showed up in so many big situations, and it shows Coldwater for sure that Springfield defense isn't to be messed with.
Well, and look, they're going to have to play solid defense again because Coldwater cranks out points like Springfield does. They're very proficient offensively. Both teams are, and both teams bring it defensively as well. I just have this gnawing feeling that this game is going to, much like the Beverly Fort Fry game, it's going to come down to whose defense is able to stand up and make the big play at the end of the game, because I think it's going to come down to last possession and which defense shows up.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say that better myself. Obviously, coming in this game, we know Coldwater, they're a state power year in, year out. We know they can put a lot of points up on the board. We just need that Springfield defense to come up big like they did against Fort Fry. So many goal line stops really kept them in that game. A couple questionable decisions by the Fort Fry coaching staff, but hey, at the end of the day, got the win. That's all that matters. But yeah, I mean, I was watching a little bit of film on Coldwater, and they just have so many weapons on offense. So it's going to be tough for sure for that Springfield defense to hold up, but I think that if they've gotten this far in the season, they're capable of doing anything on both sides of the ball, and I'm pretty confident in their team this Sunday.
You obviously called their regional final against North Wayne as well, where their defense looked less impressive. You know, they were in an offensive shootout. What kind of adjustments did you see between that game and the state semifinal game with Springfield's defense and being able to really step up this week and hold the Fort Fry team to 13 points?
I think what really helped Springfield out is that Fort Fry ran a lot of under-the-center plays. They ran a lot of that wing T offense, and Springfield's defense all year has been real well in stopping the run. Fort Fry didn't throw the ball that much, and I think that's what helped North Wayne so much. Their quarterback, can't really remember his last name, but he had an amazing day, and he had some really tall wide receivers, and I think that's what Springfield's Achilles heel is on defense. If there's anything that they need to improve on, it's obviously their passing defense. And they just have to show up because Coldwater, they have some pretty big kids as well. But yeah, back to last Saturday's matchup with Fort Fry, as I had touched, they just ran the ball a lot. They ran that wing T. They had three guys that could really run the ball pretty well, and it kind of tired out that Springfield defense. But when the going got tough, they prevailed and they came up big.
You know, we talked with Sean Guerrero on Friday, and he made mention that the scouting team was trying to do their best impersonation of a wing T offense. And I told him, I said, look, if you guys beat Beverly Fort Fry, that team, that scouting team, should be given a game ball for what they've done all week during practice, because it's the wing T. Now I'm going to show off my age. The wing T was around when I was a teenager, and it was prevalent when I was a teenager, when passing wasn't necessarily the best or the efficient way of high school football. Now the wing T is like a dinosaur, and you don't see it very often. And kudos to Springfield for doing what they did, but it all starts with a scouting team that did their best impersonation of a wing T all during that week of practice, and that got those kids ready.
Yeah, Ron, the wing T is pretty new to me as well. I had to do a lot of watching videos online, a lot of scouting the wing T itself to figure out what it was really about. It's just a lot of misdirection. And yeah, kudos to that Springfield scouting team, because those boys, obviously Fort Fry had some pretty big runs, but for the most part, Springfield held them pretty well. And a lot of those Fort Fry drives were very long, sustained, so Springfield just kept their ground, bend but don't break on defense. That was pretty much their mentality Saturday night, because Fort Fry, for a lot of their possessions, they got down in the red zone, but they just couldn't get the ball in the end zone.
Romo, you were there. You could feel the momentum. How big was that stop before halftime for Springfield, do you think, being there and being able to feel the energy in that stadium?
That stop was so big because coming into that, Fort Fry was going to get the ball to come out of halftime, and their offense to that point had moved the ball pretty well down the field. And in the Norwayne game, we knew that Norwayne, they won the toss both games. Springfield lost that toss the last 2 games, and those teams deferred to the second half. What helped Springfield a lot against Norwayne was they got a score right before the break, and that kind of gained their momentum that way. And last week, it was the complete opposite. Fort Fry, one of those long possessions, tiring out that defense, but Clay Medvec and company, it was a sweep to the left, and they just came up big, stopped them right at the goal line. Last play of the half, Fort Fry didn't have any timeouts left, and you could kind of feel when the Springfield crowd gets into it, anything is possible with that team.
Yeah, let me ask you, because you've had an opportunity to catch Coldwater on film. What are some of the things that Springfield is going to have to do defensively and offensively to knock off Coldwater?
Starting off on the defensive side, I think that Springfield's really going to have to focus on wrapping up that first set of contact, because in Coldwater's game this last Saturday, I don't know how many tackles that their ball carriers broke, but a lot of those kids were trying to tackle high for Columbus Grove, and they just were not getting the job done. Coldwater was just bouncing off of the defenders. And again, their passing game, they have a very good passer. His family, I can't really think of his name, but his family has a lot of success in that Coldwater program. His brother was a quarterback there and had won 4 straight state championships. And on the offensive side for Springfield, they're just going to have to do what they do best. I think that, as you had said, both these defenses are going to have to come up big, but if Bo Brungard can have a big game and just make plays by himself, and then you have those assets like Austin Tyndall, Bo Snyder, Clayton Nesbeth, Lucas Yema, Clay Medvec, the list goes on and on. I think if Bo Brungard can be the main priority for that Coldwater defense, and then he can air the ball out and then hand it off left and right, I think that Springfield will have a pretty good chance of keeping that Coldwater defense on their toes and kind of breaking through in many different ways.
Yeah, and you saw their defense from last week. They gave up their points. I mean, they gave up 27 points against Columbus Grove. What do you think is Springfield's biggest advantage on offense against Coldwater's defense?
I think that their biggest advantage on offense is just the amount of assets they have, because we've seen week in, week out, Bo Brungard, he now has, I believe, 38 touchdowns on the year, and it's not like he's getting them all in one direction. He has 19 passing and 19 rushing, I believe. But, yeah, I think that Bo can just – he's just going to have to make plays himself. I think that Coldwater defense doesn't have as much depth necessarily as Springfield does, because if you watch some of these Springfield games, they have so many guys that are just running on and off the field. And if they can keep good stamina and good depth, keep a lot of healthy bodies on the field, I think that that's going to be Springfield's big advantage.
Hey, do yourself a favor and save the voice until Sunday, kid. You got a pretty cool game to broadcast.
Thank you, I will.
Romo, you did a great job this week, and Springfield Nation has kind of embraced you guys. You're doing a great job for YSN, and we're glad that we can reward you guys with a state championship call.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's just a great opportunity, and I can't wait to take advantage of it.
All right, brother. Call a good game on Sunday.
Thank you.
See you, man. There it goes. Our man Romo, the broadcaster for the Springfield Tigers. That's going to be a great game.
CBS has a Romo.
So do we.
We got one of our own,
yeah.
and he's Tony too.
But he
hasn't, Anthony Romo. He doesn't shorten it.
He hasn't dated Jessica Simpson.
Oh,
though.
no.
Okay.
But that ruined Tony Romo's life anyway. So.
Well, it didn't ruin his life.
It ruined his football.
I mean, it didn't completely ruin his life.
No,
it ruined his football life. I mean, that's the rest of his life was pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
Just saying. No, but he's absolutely right. I think that I'm going to try to get Coldwater film this week too. We can kind of break it down on Wednesday and Thursday, and we can talk more about the matchup coming ahead rather than the Springfield win last week. But I think that the weapons that Springfield has on offense, you can't key in on one guy. I mean, Fort Fry tried to key in on just Bo Brungard, and the other two running backs, Medvec and Tyndall both stepped up, had really good games. They got good receivers on the outside in Yema, and they have a lot of weapons to go to. And that's going to be tough to defend because, any level of football, when teams come in with multiple weapons they can go to, at some point you're gonna have a good matchup.
See, I think that's where the two teams are going to mirror each other because Coldwater is balanced, Springfield is balanced. Springfield has a great quarterback. Coldwater has a great quarterback. Now, I don't know if he's as good as Bo is, but they're both pretty solid. They both have solid, balanced run, pass attack. They're both capable of playing solid defense when they need to. They're both capable of going into a track meet when they want to. It's going to be a fun game.
We can talk about weapons and position players all along, but at the end of the day, it's football. It's going to come down to who wins the line of scrimmage.
Exactly.
And Springfield's defensive line, the reason they are so good against the run is because they really do a good job at controlling the line of scrimmage, penetrating into the offensive backfield. And I think if they do that again and make Coldwater one-dimensional, then they'll have a good chance on defense to really. You're not going to stop Coldwater because their offense is prolific, but if you can hold them, to below 28 points, you're going to have a really good chance to win that game.
No, you do. You have a solid chance. If any team holds one of these teams under 28 points, they get a really solid chance of winning the game. I just think this is just going to be a great game. Whichever defense can slow down one of the aspects of the opposing team's offense, they're going to win the game.
Especially because like we said, Springfield proved they can win a defensive grudge match if you're going to play ball control, which Coldwater might. Coldwater might just say, we're going to run the ball, we're going to try to keep it away from Springfield's high-power offense. Springfield's okay with that because they can bend but not break. It gets a lot easier to defend teams when they get down into the red zone. And if Coldwater, I don't know what their kicking game looks like, but if it's not great and they're focused on getting in the end zone, Springfield's going to get tough when they get down inside the 5.
That is potentially the game changer right there. I don't know if Coldwater has a kicker that is anywhere near Medvik's abilities.
It's hard to be near that. But.
Well, I mean, look, if you're on the 20-yard line,
right.
You're in field goal range because this kid can go 40-plus yards, and that's a luxury. I mean, that's a serious luxury. And if the other team, if the kicker's leg is only like 30 yards and that's it. Okay, now you got to go.
5-yard line.
You got to go to the 13-yard line.
Yeah,
and you're now just getting into the fringe of his. Well, if you put the ball on the 13-yard line for the Tigers, that's a chip shot for Medvik, and I think that could very well play out to be the difference in this game. Again, we have no idea, and this is where we're going to have to do some homework and look and see if Coldwater has a kicking game, because if they don't, that could very well be what makes the difference.
When teams are so evenly matched, oftentimes special teams comes into a lot of importance. Do you have a punter that can switch the field? Do you have a solid return game? Can you play special teams well? Because a lot of times teams are really good on offense, really good on defense, and then in the high school at least, special teams can lack a little bit. Springfield, not so much. Yeah. So if Springfield can match Coldwater on defense and offense and then also win the special teams battle, they're going to be sitting pretty.
Exactly. All right, we're going to take a timeout. On the other end, we're going to hear from Dana Ballas.
And I will say Dana's going to have some breaking news about the YSU men's team. So we'll have that.
Basketball or football?
Basketball. He tweeted it out, so we'll ask him about it after we talk local.
But, all right.
But
we'll get
some news out.
We'll get Dana on here in a bit. Stick around. It's a Monday edition of Running Point.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
myself, living the dream. Platform shoes, strut down the street. It's gonna get hot here, I hope you can handle the heat.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig, who's wheeling himself back into position. Now let's go to the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, where we find 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron, yourself?
I'm doing well. Okay, about an hour ago, you broke news on a couple of fronts. The YSU men's basketball has paused because of a positive COVID-19 test. Do we know who the player or coach was who tested positive, Dana?
No, no, Ron, we don't, and I think the YSU doesn't have to be at liberty. I mean, it was within the inner circle of the YSU men's basketball team. So, you have players, you have coaches, you have managers, and, it probably, my guess is, there's about 25 people involved with the men's basketball program, from that standpoint. So they did some random testing, or did some testing, I shouldn't say random testing, and the person came back, they were positive. They consulted with the Youngstown Health Department and some other agencies, and they decided that it was that they have to go into quarantine, and certainly they're doing the right thing.
Okay, and the quarantine, is that the reason why the YSU men's basketball game scheduled for November 25th through the 29th have been canceled? Because if you look, November 16th is today's date. If you go 14 days, it's November 30th. These 4 dates, or four days, 25th through the 29th, fall within the 14 days. Is it safe to assume that the reason the games from the 25th through the 29th have been canceled was because of the quarantine?
Well, first of all, Ron, I think, if you can't practice and you can't compete, and when you're quarantined, you can't practice. So, I certainly think, that's the reason why these games have been canceled. I mean, they were supposed to play that MTE tournament. I know Coach Calhoun was looking forward to that, on Friday and Saturday and Sunday of, after their opener on the 25th. And certainly, with that being out and now you can't practice, the last time the Penguins practiced was last week. It's tough to get ready, for these types of things. And certainly, a lot of programs around the country are facing this situation. And unfortunately for YSU, it came at this point. But, Ron, I would hope that whoever is in charge, or the NCAA, takes a look at this and says, look, can we possibly start the season? And I don't know, I don't think you can. I think with so many programs, I think what you got to do is you got to say, okay, let's wait till the start of January and see where we are and go from there. I think if you start the season and then have to stop it, I think that's a mess. I think you're asking for problems. And I don't think you'll ever restart it. So, YSU had a positive case. Their schedule would be adjusted accordingly. And Ron, I don't know any other information. All I can say is I would hope the NCAA says, look, let's start the season in January.
I know you said YSU, talk with the Youngstown Health Department and everything. But does the Horizon League, I know there's games that they cancel on Horizon League games, but do they have a universal kind of protocol for the Horizon League teams, or when they go through this, that because you're a member of the Horizon League, you have to follow such and such protocol as a league? Did they put that down as a Horizon League when they introduced the start of the basketball schedule?
Well, I don't think there's a protocol for the Horizon League per se, Anthony. I think because very similar to the Missouri Valley Conference when you're dealing with multiple teams in multiple states. Each state has a different plan, so to speak. So I think they leave it up to each institution on how they want to handle it in consultation with their local health department and their local state guidelines.
Dana Wallace, 21 Sports Director, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Anthony and I were talking off the air. It seems that there have been some high school scrimmages that are starting to get canceled, popping up everywhere. Is there any word from the OHSAA about possibly delaying the start of the high school basketball season? What's the latest on that front, Dana?
Well, the Ohio High School Athletic Association sent out a questionnaire, as they did prior to the start of the football season, to athletic directors, pertaining to winter sports. And some of those questions, I'm sure, were some of the same questions that were asked in the football survey. Do you want to? Are you comfortable with having playoffs? Are you comfortable with every team going? Are you comfortable with playing at a neutral site? And those types of things. I think, Ron, with the women's basketball season starting, the girls' high school basketball starting this week, I think the state will make a decision. Again, I'll go back to what I said before. You don't want to start a season and then have to stop it, because restarting it, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think, the Ohio High School Athletic Association is going to really look at this, and they're going to say, hey, we're going to start or we're not going to start. I think the numbers are against them. If you look at where we are, we're in November, it's getting colder outside, more people are going inside, where with more people inside, if you get 300 people in a gym, I don't care if it's socially distanced or not, the probability of spreading the virus probably goes up. At least if you're outside with the fresh air. So Ron, I think this won't be an Ohio High School Athletic Association decision, although it will ultimately fall on them. I think they'll consult with the governor's office. I think they'll consult with the state health department and see what the best plan is. And it's not about sports. This is about what the governor has been preaching probably the last 7 or 8 months. Hey, we got to stop this virus, and how do we stop it? And Ron, here's what I don't understand, and I guess we have schools that are going remote learning. But sports is continuing, and to me that makes I just don't know how that works. That doesn't make any sense to me. Because at sports you're going to the gym, you're being around people. Remote learning, you're away from everybody. And I know they say, in the sports gathering, the chances, we know what the kids are doing, but I just maybe I'm missing something on that. That just makes no sense to me. If you're going remote learning, keeping kids out of the building, then why are practices and athletics continuing? That, again, maybe I'm missing something.
It's the sad reality right now that we have to we're still dealing with COVID-19 and all the things that come along with it. But let's try to escape from it and talk about these state championship games we definitely got going on this weekend. JFK and Springfield both punching their ticket this week. What kind of excitement did you see from those state semifinal games, and how do you think our chances are this weekend in our state championship games?
Well, you're going up against probably the best conference in the state of Ohio, in the Midwestern Athletic Conference, the MAC. And if you look in the dictionary, look under state championships, those MAC teams are all going to be listed there. Let's begin with JFK. They've been there. They won it in 2016. They're going up against, a New Bremen team that has never played in the state championship game, so that may be one of the advantages. Schedule-wise, I guess the advantage would have to go to New Bremen just because of all the teams in that Midwestern Athletic Conference. With all due respect, JFK played a good schedule as well, but this New Bremen team knocked out Marion Stein, who is, synonymous with the state championship game. It's a mirror of two teams, Hollaba and the New Bremen quarterback. I believe his name is Harvey, if I remember correctly. These two guys run the show. They're leading rushers. They're the leading, they're the guys who fuel the fire when it comes to offense. Defensively, JFK has played well. The concern with JFK with me is Hollaba has scored their last 6 touchdowns in their last 3 games. So there's some other weapons. There's Likens, who's out there as well. But the concern would be is if New Bremen can slow down Hollaba, does JFK have an answer? As far as Springfield, against Coldwater, Coldwater's been in this game 25 times. I mean, if you look at the MAC conference, they're 35-14 in state championship games, not playoffs. That's state championship games. Coldwater's been there. Springfield was there last year. I think if the game was in Canton, where Springfield played last year, I think that would help their cause a little bit just because of the familiarity with it. Now you're going to Fortress Obetz, where no one has played. I think it's 50-50 on both teams, to be honest with you. My concern is that these teams come from that conference, and they've been tested, and I'm just not sure that the local teams have played the caliber of competition these teams have played.
Here's the scary part, Dana. The first time that a team from the Midwest Athletic Conference went into and won a state championship was 1989. So you start to clock those 49 games from 1989. That's ridiculous.
And they play each other. Their conference is a great conference. I don't believe there's soccer down there. If a kid starts in a district, he stays in that district. These kids aren't flipping schools to go here and there, and that's why they're so competitive. I mean, Coldwater, Delta St. John, Marion Stein, New Bremen, Anna, who played Springfield last year. All these teams, they send 2 to 3 teams to the state finals every year, and that just talks about that conference. But again, these teams have to play their game. You can't worry about the conference they come to. And again, I think, Springfield, they scored a boatload of points against Norwalk, and then we're in a defensive game. It's come down to the final, second to last play in both of these last games for Springfield. I think if they get into a shootout, I think the lower scoring the game favors Springfield. I think they have to control the ball. I thought Beverly Ford Fry did a good job of controlling the ball on Saturday against Springfield. But again, Springfield's defense, when they had to make a play, made a play. JFK, played well for about 45 minutes, 44 minutes of the 48. The last 4 minutes probably didn't play their best at all. But again, this is the 48 minutes that everyone wants to play for, and 2 teams have that chance.
Since the turn of this century, the public schools have gone winless, 0-4 in state title games, where the private schools, JFK, Ursuline, and Mooney, have gone a combined 9-5. So we've done a much better job with the parochial schools winning some titles. And it's a statistic that I'm frankly tired of saying, but it's true. The last public school to win a state championship in our area, you got to go back to 1999. Poland High School became the first team to win 15 games in a high school football season in the state of Ohio. Paul Julia's team won the state championship in 99. I'd love to see Springfield become the first public school in the 21st century to win that state title.
Well, I think, Ron, look, everybody wants to see the local teams do well. And, this is what these kids are playing for. This is what they work so hard for. This is what they, dodged some big bullets, with this COVID, to play in this game. One, I hope the games are played. I hope, that excuse me, I hope for, that these games are able to be played, because it would be a shame to come this far and for some reason these games are not to be played. That stuff is statistical stuff that people look at like you and I do. There could be some history here this week on both fronts. First of all, Don Perlogo could be the first head coach in his first year at a varsity level to win a state championship. Phil Annarella did it in 90, but he was a head coach prior to taking over the combination of Warren Harding and Warren Western Reserve. Springfield is the first public school since 72 and 73 with Warren Western Reserve to play for the state title. And again, I think Springfield will be really, really relaxed. I think, there'll be nerves for everybody. I think if you're not human, you won't have, if you wouldn't be human if you didn't have nerves. But, they're playing at a place that no one has seen, no one's familiar with. And again, it's why the kids play. It's what it's all about.
I want to give some love to the soccer teams that played this weekend as well. Mooney came up a little bit short in the state final game, and then Howland, really, they just dominated the state championship game. What do you think, now that we're winding down the fall season, we got, the football state championships, volleyball finished last weekend. How would you grade how the fall season went in high school athletics? When they got through it, and they had to make some changes, but how would you grade how everything went now that we're almost at the end of fall sports?
Well, I think hats off to go to every school, whether you're played in the state championship or didn't play. I think, just to play this season was tough enough just because of everything that was going on. I mean, it was tough to cover for everybody. I think it was tough for the media. I think it was tough for the coaches. Obviously, it was tough for parents. And again, it's what high school athletics are about. I mean, and I think that's when, you look at New Bremen again, just to go back there. I mean, they have a population of 2,987. If things were okay, all 2,987 people would be at the state championship game. And it's the community backing, and I think that's where it's lacking. Not because there's no backing, but just fans of the kids, fans of the school who want to support the kids, can't go to the games to do that. And that's why I think you're seeing more schools having these send-offs, allowing those people who can't go to the games to at least feel they're part of it. And I think that's huge. I mean, around the state, teams that won the regional or the state championships in soccer, I mean, they had police escorts back into the communities, and that's what it's all about. And I especially think that's important this year because of what we're going through. But, in response to your question, I mean, to get this far, I had my doubts we would get this far, so I give it an A+. I think, there were a couple of hiccups. I mean, we had 24 high school football playoff games, ruled no contest because of the virus. Now, when you have 600 teams and you got 24 that don't play, that's a pretty good percentage. But I think under the circumstances that every coach, athlete, administrator, superintendent, school board member faced, I'll give it an A++.
Dana Boleshow, our guest on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Dana, a couple more questions before we let you go. This year, and welcome to COVID, all of the games are going to be played at Fortress Obetz, a one-sided football stadium southeast of Columbus. There's talk that maybe this might not be the one and only time that they play those state championship games at Fortress Obetz. Is there any whispers you're hearing out of Columbus where this could very well be a permanent home for years to come?
Well, Ron, I think that's a very good possibility. I think that the people in Columbus and again the Ohio High School Athletic Association, when the games were at, look, when the games, when there's any state championship not in Columbus, it's difficult for that office because they basically got to move everybody to that site. Baseball's in Akron, softball's in Akron, so I think the closer there to Columbus, is good. Now, the question I got over the weekend is, do you ever think they'll go back to Ohio Stadium? And the answer is no. I do not see first of all, Ohio State doesn't want them for various reasons. The best high school facility, not only in the state of Ohio, Ron, but in the country, probably is at Tom Benson Stadium. And in my opinion, that's where they should be. But I think, and there's some grumblings and there's some talk, that Fortress Obetz could become the permanent home of the state football championships down the road. Absolutely. That's a real possibility.
All right, obviously over the weekend, Browns knocking off the Texans, Steelers remaining undefeated, and a member of the Cavaliers getting arrested in the Youngstown area. Just an interesting weekend in sports.
Well, you know what, Ron? It's funny though. Even during a pandemic, there's enough sports news to lead newscast.
There you go, and hopefully this weekend we'll have lots of happy faces with the city of Warren celebrating their championship in the JFK community, and then Sunday afternoon, early Sunday night, hopefully we're going to have a championship coming out of Springfield.
And Ron, one real other thing here. You know, people say, well, why are there games on Sunday this year and not in previous years? Very simply, again, with the games at Tom Benson Stadium, the Hall of Fame doesn't want high school games to be played on Sunday because the Hall of Fame, Sundays are a big attraction day for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and they don't want anything to interfere with that. So that's why there's games there. That's why this year you're seeing games on Sunday. You're seeing 2 games per day because they're able to play games on Sunday at Fortress Obetz. They were not permitted to play games Sunday at Hall of Fame Stadium.
Well, and one of the reasons why Fortress Obetz may be the home in the future, I'm sure that the OHSAA wouldn't mind playing state championship games from here on out on Sunday.
Well, and again, when you have 2 games, now you're not rushed. You know, when you had the 2 sites at McKinley and Massillon, you had 3 games per day, but, you know, you had game at Site A, you know, at 11 in the morning, then you didn't have another one until 8 o'clock, and you had that middle game, and then they reversed it the following day. That's why you could play 3 games. But I think in this situation, I think, let's just say, Ron, you know, I don't think Canton is out of hosting the Ohio High School football playoffs or state championship games, but if they would go back to Columbus or ping pong back and forth, it will not be at Ohio Stadium. It will be at Fortress Obetz.
Well, let me ask you one more question before we let you go. This year, Division I had their own spotlight. They were 1 week ahead of D2 through D7. Do you expect that for years to come, or was that just an anomaly because of COVID?
Well, no, that was because, Ron, in Division I, there were less teams in D1, so they didn't have to go that extra week for the playoffs because, again, everybody got into the playoffs. Now, if everything is normal next year, the playoffs for everybody will start on, you know, 1 week and they will all end the same weekend. So, you know, next year, again, you know, you will probably have a game on Thursday, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, and 2 Sunday again next year if they are at Obetz. And my guess is, you know, they're not going to shut out Tom Benson, but I think, you know, if you have it 3 years at Tom Benson and 3 years at Obetz, I think that's a possibility. But I think the Ohio High School Athletic Association is going to lean heavily on trying to keep it at Obetz, A, Ron, because I'm sure it's much cheaper than Tom Benson Stadium to rent, and B, it's a lot closer for the staff of the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Well, and, you know, and I agree with all of that, except you have 2 teams that are so close to Canton playing in the D2 state championship in Massillon and Akron-Holben. The fact that the game screams for being in Canton, and unfortunately they're not able to play it in Canton this year. They're gonna have those 2 teams go down to Columbus. I hope the OHSAA, when they figure this out, says, okay, we're not going to completely close the door on Canton because if there are 2 teams from northeastern Ohio playing in a state title game, it would be absurd for those 2 teams to go all the way down to Columbus where we can simply put that game in Canton.
But Ron, and look at it this year. Out of the 6 games coming up, I think Northeast Ohio is represented in all 6 divisions. Now, and I understand Massillon and Holben, you know, are but again, if you played at Tom Benson Stadium, you can only have 1,500 people there anyway, and you can have 1,500 down at Obetz.
Yeah, true. And again, in a special thing, I understand why they're doing it. But in a normal circumstance, and hopefully they have when they have their meetings about this, in a normal circumstance, you gotta realize, okay, if there's 2 teams in the northeastern Ohio, Canton should be that place for that title game.
Ron, you've been around a long time. How many times have coaches told you, look, we'll play in a parking lot at 4 in the morning with no lights to play for a state championship?
Every single one of them will say that.
Okay, so like I said, if you're playing for a state championship and you got to go to Dayton to play, I mean, and again, those aren't the schools complaining about it. It's people on social media complaining about it who have no say in the matter. But I will tell you this, I cannot see the Ohio High School Athletic Association saying, okay, if we have 2 teams from Northeast Ohio playing, Canton's going to be it. So what if you have, you know, a team from Cincinnati and a team from, you know, Dayton, you know, and they want to play, you know, somewhere in between? If you're going to do that, I think they're opening up a can of worms for that.
Fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep things as they are. You know, and again, you know, with 1,500 fans, Spectrum's the big winner this week.
Spectrum and YSN are the two big winners this week. No two ways about it. Dana, always a pleasure, sir.
Okay.
You got it. Dana Balish, 21 Sports Director, joining me, and Anthony on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. When this is kicked to the curb, and this being COVID, I'm going to be real curious to see how they do this. But Dana brings up a really good point.
I get it. I get why the HSA wants it at Columbus, at Obetz, because it's cheap, and it's close to Columbus, and they don't have to travel. Ohio State football games should be played at the start of football in Canton, Ohio. If you have that in your state, you should be playing there. Period.
And I agree with that. But if they're planning on doing games on Sunday, then there's no interest from the Hall of Fame. And rightfully so, because, look, I've gone to the Hall of Fame on Sundays, asses to elbows in that place. I mean, they do an unbelievable business on a Sunday.
But wouldn't you still get bit? I mean, like if your team's playing on a Sunday, they play at let's say the team, they have a state championship game, but they've done it at 10 a.m. before. They did it at 10 a.m. to Springfield last year. So you play Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Then you're going to the Hall of Fame after that game anyway.
Yeah, but the Hall of Fame is open. The Hall of Fame's open at 9. They refuse.
You're not hurting tourism by bringing more people there to watch the state championship game, because those people are going to go right to the Hall of Fame after their game or before their game, depending on when that game is.
Yeah, but they're going to be using that parking lot.
Oh, that parking lot's big enough.
That parking lot really isn't all that big. I mean, I'm just
find another place to have people to park. I mean, come on. We can't make that be an excuse of why we're not letting
the Hall of Fame does not want any part of playing Sunday games.
It's like having a historic rock and roll concert in the state of Ohio and not having it in Cleveland. It's just, it's not done. You can't do it. You have to have it at the place. And if you're talking football in Ohio, it screams Canton.
I agree with that. Now, let me just correct some people on a little factual thing here. Rock and roll was not invented in Cleveland.
But the Hall of Fame's in Cleveland.
Hall of Fame's in Cleveland because the first radio station that was a rock and roll format was in Cleveland. Rock and roll was invented in Memphis,
Now I got to
Tennessee.
ask. I don't know if you know this, but the baseball state tournaments for New York, are they played anywhere near Cooperstown? Is there like a stadium or a facility?
Oh, in Cooperstown, there's a beautiful stadium.
So do they play their state championships there?
No, it's absurd.
Stupid.
I agree with you. I agree with you. If I were in the state of New York, and I've lived in the state of New York, if I were on that board, I'd sit back and go, why aren't we playing games in Cooperstown? Why aren't we renting out that stadium in Cooperstown for our state championships?
That's such a missed opportunity.
Oh my God, absolutely. Because that's where the game first began. You got to go to your roots. Now, Ohio.
What about Nebraska? Do they play it in Omaha with the
I have
college?
No idea.
I hope so.
I have no idea.
I hope so, and I hope Oklahoma softball's played at ASA Hall of Fame Stadium where they.
You
play
would hope.
I mean, these are just grand opportunities. Like, that's an easy win. Easy win. Don't miss the easy wins in life, and that's one of them.
Well, and again, the argument is the Hall of Fame refuses to have games played on a Sunday.
Okay.
Now, I agree with that.
I get it.
I don't like games played on a Sunday for other reasons, but the biggest reason is for them, it takes away from our business. I can understand that. Let's go to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What up, brother?
Well, how you fellas doing today?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. How about you, Tony?
I'm good. We got two teams in a state championship. It feels good.
Yeah, well, I just got to tell you guys, the last 15 minutes, I've been pretty much disagreeing with everything you guys said.
Okay. Well, there's a shock. Hold on a second. In other news, the sun rose from the east this morning. Back to you.
All right, bring it on, Emmanuel. Bring it on. Let's see what you got.
But first of all, before we get to anything like that, I want to tell you guys about the emotional roller coaster that I went through this weekend, and I am so proud of the coaches, the players, and the communities. Because I watched that young man from Cardinal Mooney when they lost.
Yeah.
Now some people say that there's nothing good in losing. But I'll say when you lose, it reveals character. That young man was brokenhearted but he still stood in front of the camera. He talked about his teammates. He talked about his community. He talked about the tradition, right? And I can understand that because you can replace him with me when we lost to Mooney in that championship game. It took me back, and I was so proud. And I'm going to tell you, I can't do it for a week, but for 72 hours, Raider Nation is teaming up with Mooney Nation. I mean, because I'm just so proud of those guys. Just proud, the way they played, and even in the loss, the character that they showed. It just made me proud to have Mooney on the schedule.
Here's one of the things, and I've often said this to kids. If you're going to have cameras in front of you when you're winning games and you're doing interviews when you're winning games, you better be doing the same thing when your team loses. Because I agree with you 100 times over. It shows character. And if you're going to be someone that's going to be more than happy to talk when your team is winning, but you don't do that when your team loses, no, that's tough to see. I was really, really glad to see that the kids handled the loss with class, and they were able to do that because I think that shows great character. And I'm with you, Emmanuel. I'm very proud of Cardinal Mooney's season. I'm very proud with how well they played against a really good Marymount team, and I'm just proud of the way they conducted themselves.
And this is from a guy who played against Ted Bell. But right now we're all Mooney strong.
hey, listen. Ted, I didn't get an opportunity. I got to ask you because I've heard this guy's name, and I never had the opportunity to see him. I was too little to go to a lot of games without without people going to the games with me. So I never had an opportunity to see Ted Bell play. You've had an opportunity to see Ted Bell and some of the kids that have followed him. Where does Ted Bell rank amongst the Pantheon?
Well, and I've seen some good ones. Other than Paul Warfield, I'd have to say Ted Bell.
Wow.
That's how good he was.
Wow, and Omar Provett was pretty damn special with the 90.
Hardington. So was Lynn.
And so was Lynn. So was Clarett. So was
Adams, who's running for Rutgers now.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Bam Herron, who went to the Colts. But I'm telling you, he was just smooth, man. He was just you couldn't stick him. You could bring him down, but you couldn't put a lick on him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just smooth, and he was like Jim Brown. He just get back up, go back to the huddle. I mean, he was smooth, and then I'm looking at Springfield, right? And full disclosure, back in the day when I was a younger man, I did a few Springfield football games on the radio back when they had the Shula Boys and the coolest football name I ever heard of somebody as a running back, Bobby Zikovich, right? Those guys, those are the guys that poured the foundation to build this Springfield team the way it is, and then I didn't call him Boogaloo. I didn't call Bobby Boogaloo. That's what the family call him, but I didn't call him that, right? But the fact of the matter that Springfield, the way their community, the way their team, the way their coaches, the way their players, everybody's all in, and they are one of the most disciplined teams I've seen in a long time. They're where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. That's how they make those goal line stands. And it's like they belong there. I mean, they're a program now, man. What do you think?
They're fundamentally sound. That's the reason why they're back in the state championship game. And you give all the credit in the world to Sean Guerrero on that amazing coaching staff that he has. It's that's I agree with you. They're starting to become a program. And this is going to be a great week in Springfield. Win, lose, or draw, and hopefully it's a win on Sunday. This is just going to be a great, great week, not only in Springfield, but a great week for the JFK family as well as JFK looks to win their third state championship.
Well, I tell people if they want to listen to me, and this goes back to my disagreement. You guys are talking about that MAC conference, right?
Yeah.
I believe if you took the Howland football team that they have this year, and put them in that conference, I believe Howland would win that conference.
Well, the
because
conference,
they're bigger.
Yeah,
they're bigger and stronger.
Well, the conference is D5, D6, and D7 out there. So
okay, so this goes back. So this goes back to what I'm saying, and Lord knows I'm not trying to start any trouble. But if we wasn't so parochial, somebody won't play somebody who won't play somebody, we could have the best Division 5, 6, 7 conference, I think, in the state of Ohio. Because we have some teams. We have some very good Division 5 teams. We have some very good Division 6 teams. But they don't really, like the Northeast 8, I like that conference. It's picking up some. But if we played everybody like those guys played each other, we would put somebody deep in the playoffs every year. That's just my opinion. What do you think?
Well, we have two conferences, actually now three. Three conferences that it basically encompass all the D5, D6, and D7 schools. South Range is in the Northeast 8. They're a D5 school, but they're in the Northeast 8 and arguably in a much, much better place than any of the D5 programs because they're playing D4 and D3 schools. So they're in a pretty good place. They're not going to go anywhere from the Northeast 8. So you have the All-American Conference gray tier, which next year is going to be part of the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference. And that's the conference that's going to include Crestview, Brookfield, Camel, Newton Falls. Next year, Garrettsville, Garfield will be in this. You also have from the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference, you've got Springfield, you've got McDonald, you've got Western Reserve, you've got Lowellville, you got Jackson Milton, you got Mineral Ridge, you got Sebring. And then down in Columbiana County, you've got the EOAC, and it includes one Mahoning County team in Valley Christian, and then you have Columbiana, Latonia, Lisbon, Palestine, United, Southern. So all of the D5, D6, and D7 schools are encompassed in what is going to be two leagues next year. Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference is going to be swallowing up the All-American Conference gray tier.
They already have.
And they already have. So you're essentially going to have two conferences encompassing most, if not all, but a handful of D5, D6, and D7 schools. What I want to see from here on out is stability. Now that everyone has gotten a chair and the musical chair game is over, I want stability. One of the reasons why the Midwest Athletic Conference is such a beast is because there's been stability. That conference doesn't change very often. It's stable. That's one of the reasons why it's such a good conference. We need stability in our conferences. And now that the musical chair game is over, let's keep the conferences for a number of years. And I think if we do that, there is a very real chance, Emmanuel, that we are going to get a lot more representation in a lot of sports, not just football.
Well, there's a very, very, very big soft spot in my heart for those Eagles of Warren JFK. So I guess they're not wanted in any league, huh?
They're independent.
They're independent, and look, I mean, if
who wants to be independent?
Well,
including Warren G. Harding, who wants to be independent?
Well, I mean, there's some schools. There's some schools that like being independent because they can schedule whoever they want to, whenever they want to. Now,
who likes being independent?
Well, Notre Dame does. I know that. But
no, we're talking about high school. We're talking about high school.
I know what you mean. Look, it just depends on how consistent they can be with their schedule. I mean, there are teams that have no problem being independent because they know we can go anywhere across the state of Ohio, schedule 10 teams for football, 22 teams for basketball. I don't know how many games you play in baseball. I think 20 or 22. And no big deal. We don't have a responsibility of playing in our league. We don't have to play anybody twice. We can play elite teams all up and down our schedule. There's advantages to being an independent. Now, the problem with that is trying to find 10 teams that are going to want to play you that don't have league responsibilities, or 22 games, or whatever the amount of games you play in baseball or softball.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I can't speak for JFK, but I'm pretty sure financially and logistically I think they would love to be in the league. I don't think they enjoy. They do it driving up there to Cleveland and being in that league up there. I just don't see it.
Emmanuel, in a perfect world, Warren JFK would be a perfect fit in the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference. They'd be a perfect fit. Whether it's in the upper tier with Crestview and Liberty and Garrettsville, Garfield, and some of the other teams, either one, they would be a perfect fit. Now, whether there's been conversations, I don't know. I have no idea. But I will tell you they'd be a perfect fit for the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference.
Okay, now, I got to ask you this. I have to ask you this. Because I bought me one of those emerald things, and I was cooking with it today. Man, I made a porterhouse steak, came out perfect. You can cut it with a fork. But my question to you is, what the heck is going on with the Buffalo Bills?
Hail Murray, full of crap. The football gods are with you. Blessed aren't thou that throws a ball in desperation, and blessed is an all-pro wide receiver with hands of glue. Holy Murray, father of passing. I have no prayers for this team because they suck.
Well, it's strange because you look, Tennessee lost. They have 3 losses, and the Browns have to fight every weekend.
Yeah.
Then you have the Raiders, and then here comes Miami. I don't know what the heck is going on the AFC. What's going on? What 7 teams you think will make it?
Listen, all I know is the AFC East is now going to come down to that last game against Miami and Buffalo in January. The East is coming down to that day because Miami looks really good. And I expect Buffalo to be angry for the next couple of weeks, and we'll see what happens. But look, the AFC is loaded this year. I mean, it is a lot of fun. There are going to be 1 or 2 really angry teams not getting into the postseason because there's a bunch of teams that only have 3 losses this year, and you only got 7 spots unless a major COVID outbreak takes place. Then we get 8 spots, but someone is going to be a very disappointed team at the end of the year.
Well, I thought I'd just call and tell you guys, and I also disagree with. Listen, this is not the high school Hall of Fame game. This is the Ohio High School Championship game. It should be played as close to Columbus as possible. It should be played in the middle of the state, That's just my opinion.
Well, and from a geographic standpoint, I agree with that. But from a standpoint of the birthplace of football, Anthony's got a great point. I mean, you got to put the games in Canton. I mean, the game was born in Canton, Ohio. That's where. That's where pro football was made. I'm not 100% sure where high school football was invented, but pro football was invented in Canton, Ohio, and you've got a gorgeous facility at Tom Benson Stadium. But I can also see your point because Columbus is the centralized part of the state of Ohio, and let's be honest, the OHSAA, if you put everything in Columbus, then they don't have to do anything. They can stay in that bubble of theirs.
And this is the last thing I'm going to say, and this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Rock and roll was invented in Detroit. My brother, have a nice day.
All right, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. I'll tell you what.
I want to point out that I never said it was invented in Cleveland.
No.
I said the Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame's in Cleveland. Yeah. The Hall of Fame's in Cleveland, and I will say historically.
No, I mean, I get what he's saying because you want it centralized as possible so teams can. But like I said, it's an easy win when you have something like that in your state, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's begging you for just an experience in the atmosphere and whatever you want to say. It's begging you to play the state championship games there. It's like Kentucky. Where do they go for the state basketball game? They go to the University of Kentucky in Rupp Arena. Is that central to Kentucky? No. Is it the most legitimate basketball arena in the state? Yes.
Well, I mean, people in Louisville may disagree with that, but
win.
It is.
I don't care.
No, it is. You're right. It is. It absolutely is. But here's the problem. People in Cincinnati and Dayton, they don't want to hear that argument because they got to shuck their backside 4 or 5 hours up the road to Canton, or 4 hours up the road to Canton. So it's easy for us to say that because
if the Hall of Fame was in Dayton, I'd have the same argument. I mean, I'm not saying it because it's close. I'm saying it because it's the.
No, I agree. I agree with your argument. I absolutely agree with your argument. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on?
Hey, Ronnie, how we doing today?
What's up, brother?
Tough one for your Bills. I watched that whole game.
Oh man, why does everyone got to pile on this? Man?
No, it was a tough one. I was rooting for them. That was a tough one.
Let me just say this. I saw it coming. The play before, I had this bad premonition that Murray was going to throw a Hail Mary and it was going to be answered. And as soon as he let the ball go, well, first of all, he should have been sacked. And how he was able to get away from that, that's athleticism beyond belief.
Because rolling to the left, throwing it that far on the run.
It was a great throw. It was a great catch. Hopkins was surrounded by everyone and anyone in the secondary. 3 guys all around him. Tre'Davious White was literally an inch from tapping the ball away because the ball went just over his middle finger. And Hopkins came down with it. I mean, Look, I love Steph Diggs, but Hopkins is the best receiver in the NFL right now.
Well, as a Browns fan, I remember the Vikings. I think it was Ahmad Rashad.
1980 in the Cardiac Kids era.
Yeah, and I still remember that play to the day, and it pisses me off.
Tommy Kramer found Ahmad Rashad in the back of the end zone. Had the Browns won that game, they would have won the AFC Central.
Right.
And they had to turn around and win the game in Cincinnati to win the division. But that was in the Cardiac Kids era. And by the way, that loss prevented Cleveland from having home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs.
That's exactly right. And they were tough to beat at home. I know Oakland did it, but that one year.
Well, they did it in 45 below zero conditions.
Hey, I like Manuel's passion, but JFK's been in the league. He said they're independent. They've been in the North Coast League for 6 years.
Yeah.
And now they're in another league starting in the fall. There's Mogador.
Yep.
I think it's Mogador, Portage Southeast, Rootstown, JFK, St. Thomas, and there's one more to be added, and they don't know who it is.
Yeah, and that was the league that Garrettsville Garfield vacated.
Right,
and they're coming into the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference. It's the Portage Trail Conference, and it's a good conference. They essentially traded away Garrettsville Garfield for Warren JFK.
Mm-hmm. And that'll be a pretty tough league. I don't know if people ever see this Mogador play.
They're good.
Oh, they're good. They're real good.
Yeah, they're good.
But I've seen some really good teams in the playoffs this year. I got to admit, I thought when they said, everybody gets in, it would really water it down. But this Norwalk St. Paul came up here, and I'm telling you, they were well coached. I mean, I know a lot of teams we don't see on other parts of the state. And tell you what, I've seen some really good teams. I was really impressed with some of the teams I've seen.
Norwalk St. Paul might have been JFK's toughest game in that region.
I'm going to tell you what, you're not going to see a better, all-around coach team than them. And for their size, they were very good. I was kind of like, I knew they were always good.
Yeah.
'Cause I've seen them play before, but they're one of those teams. They're not going to beat themselves. You better go out and win.
I hear you.
They just have that tradition. They're really good, but.
What do you think of our chances this weekend with JFK and Springfield?
I got to honestly say I know that league that New Brenman's in, but I've never heard of them doing anything in that league. I know their girls volleyball is always.
Yeah, their girls volleyball and their girls volleyball team lost the state championship game over the weekend.
Oh, they did. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, but they've never won a state championship in football.
I know. When I looked at their roster, Ronnie, they dress like 68 non-freshmen, too, because small schools dress freshmen. But they're dressing 60-some kids. I'm going, man, there can't be that many boys left in the division. Because I know Kennedy's total enrollment for boys is 74.
Yeah.
That's before they add on those Caspers, the ghosts, where the state says, well, really, you have 100 or whatever. I don't know where the hell that came from, but... they get a lot of kids out for football, but I only heard of Minster, Coldwater, Delphus back in the day. Unless they're a new entry in that league, I don't really know much about them.
Well, I'll give a little synopsis because I did some homework over the weekend on all of the teams, and it's an interesting thing with this conference. Every school in this conference has won a state championship in one sport. Well, all the sports that we have in the state of Ohio, football, cross country, golf, bowling, all the sports that we offer in the state of Ohio, every single school in this conference has won a state championship in one sport. It's pretty amazing.
Is this the one where the boys, they got together, they don't have boys soccer?
Yeah, they do not have boys soccer at all.
And you don't start playing football till 8th grade or something like
7th grade.
Tackle football.
Yeah,
I mean,
7th grade.
contact.
Yeah, 7th grade. The youth football is flag football, and they don't start playing tackle football till 7th grade.
That prevents burnout.
Yeah, this is true.
You know, it really does.
Yeah.
No, I just called. I didn't know if you knew they were getting in a new league or not. I mean, so that's for JFK. I mean, so that league will be pretty tough.
Well, St. Thomas Aquinas and Mogador. That's you're talking some pretty nice competition
Those are both
right there.
Division 6 teams that made deep playoff runs.
Yeah, so you're talking a nice division, and it was a nice division this past year with Garrettsville Garfield. So I got to imagine it's going to be an equally tough division. And Rootstown had a bad year this year, and they'll bounce back because
Well,
they
lost
always
a couple
do.
kids, Zach. They lost some kids when this whole thing first started. I mean, they had a big turmoil up there. The coach quit.
Yep.
And in fact, 2 of the kids played for St. Thomas were from Rootstown.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they got booed out of the playoffs by COVID-19.
Yeah, that's right. But I think their league games are going to be week 6 through 10. I think that's kind of what they settled on. I'm not sure, but so.
Well, that'll be cool because
You still have to fill, like you say, you still have to fill 5 or 6 dates. You know.
Hey, listen, you can depending on how good your league is, you can pad your schedule with 5 pretty good opponents.
Well, right, especially if everything clears up and they take 12. If they don't go to everybody, like, you know, I heard there was talk. Well, I heard on your show actually that there was talk about.
Well, officially, they're going to go to 12 next year. They will go to 12, and the top 4 seeds will get a bye. So you don't necessarily, especially if you're going to play in the conference JFK is going to play in. I'll even take it a step further. Any conference, with the possible exception of the EOAC, and it all depends on how many teams in the EOAC are going to be a solid team where you know you're going to be getting computer points on a week-in, week-out basis. All the other conferences have teams that if you can win those games, you're going to get a fair amount of computer points. You don't necessarily have to load up your non-conference schedule per se.
Right. You could take a chance, though, and play somebody up, which they're going to probably do.
Hey, listen, and I'm not saying this because they're the last 2 teams in this area, but if JFK and Springfield were to sign a home-and-home contract beginning next year, can you imagine how many people would be going to Mollenkopf and how many people would be going to Springfield to watch these two behemoths play each other?
Because if I'm not mistaken, COVID's so many teams opting out around here is what caused Norwalk to get replaced in this region. I don't think they were originally in this region when the playoffs first came out back in August.
You're probably right on that because Norwalk is a pretty significant drive away from here.
Yeah, they're usually up there with the Hopewell Loudons in that area, up there.
Yeah.
Monroeville, up that way. So, okay, Ronnie, nice talking to you.
Same here, man.
We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business. 330-886-0813. I want to ask you.
As soon as he said Casper, I just want to say, as soon as he popped that Casper joke, this TV turned on by itself.
The Tower of Casper. That's good stuff. Cue the Friday the 13th music. Yeah, as I've often said, I like to with my. All right, 330-886-0813.
Now, I want to, because we have had 2 callers since Dana's conversation.
Yes.
I just want to go back to that because I think a lot of Springfield and JFK fans might have heard all that talk and gotten kind of bummed because just the way we're presenting that kind of made these matchups seem really daunting because we're talking about these conferences.
Well, they're in the state title game. It's not daunting.
And I get it. But 2 things that Dana brought up that I just want to hit at. He brought up the experience of that conference in the state championship game.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's amazing. We've said the numbers. I think they're 35
and 14 in state title games.
All that goes out the window this week because New Bremen's never been in there.
Yep.
New Bremen's never been there. Coldwater hasn't been there since 2015. So the fact that Coldwater's been there 25 times is pointless because this team hasn't been there.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, that the schedule. I get it, the schedule. They're playing each other. It's big. It's tough. But at this point, everyone's tested.
Of course.
So the schedule, that kind of talking about the schedule and the experience of this conference with these 2 matchups it's irrelevant, and it is. I don't even want to touch it because it doesn't have anything bearing with this matchup. We want to talk about how good Coldwater is right now because how good their offense is and break down the film. That's great. But 25 state championships. Well, that's great, but they haven't been there since 2015. Irrelevant. And then
they haven't won. They've won 6 titles, but they haven't won. They haven't been there since 2015.
Right. And then the strength of schedule. That's a good argument for like the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. But at this point, everyone's strength of schedule is even because they've all fought and clawed to get to the state championship. So everyone is absolutely battle tested. So I think I just want to focus on these 2 matchups based on these 2 teams, what they put on the field this year, not based on the conferences. I get it. It's a nice talking point. That's why we've kind of glazed over it a little bit. But I just felt like listening to that conversation, if I was a Springfield fan or a JFK fan, it hammered in how intimidating this matchup might be. But in the grand scheme of things, these 2 teams, they're both inexperienced in the state championship game when you look at where they are right now. So I want to iterate that because I know we have a heavy Springfield and JFK fans listening to this.
Absolutely.
This conference is good and it has a lot of pedigree, but these 2 teams don't get caught up in it because they're really inexperienced when it comes to this level. Like I said, Coldwater hasn't been there since
2015,
and New Bremen's never been there before. So
they've never won a title before. I don't know. I don't know if they've even been to a state title game. They have no titles, and Coldwater has 6. The last one being 2015.
It's a fairly chalk kind of. Let's just buckle up our chin straps and let's go.
One thing that I would say, what the conference iron sharpens iron. There's a reason why they have teams that get to the state title game, but it's not a conference that is unbeatable because they have had years where they haven't won a state title. So hopefully 2020 is one of those years.
Yeah, I think our last caller made a good point. There are probably teams in this area that would do well in that conference, I think. I think South Range would probably go down there and do fine in that conference.
I think it would be fun.
I think a Division 3 or 4 team like maybe Hubbard or Poland would go down that conference and do pretty well. So it's not like it's going to be football that at a level that we've never seen before.
All right, let's get to the phone lines. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's up?
Hello, Ron.
Champ, what's up, brother?
Hey, listen, to follow up Anthony's point is that Springfield, what they should do is they should put some type of Ursuline Irish emblem on their jerseys because Ursuline has totally annihilated Coldwater 3 times. When I say annihilation, I mean 49, 37, 55, 25, and 51, 21 in 3 meetings against Coldwater. That might be the ticket. And keep in mind that JFK beat Minster in 2016. No problem there.
Yeah.
Try to see if Keith Teague has a younger brother and bring him on to play for Springfield. Because that's why Springfield dominated them is because you couldn't stop that kid.
Yeah, the Teague kid was unbelievable in those games.
But I want to comment on this debate about playing these games in Columbus. But I think that I don't think I'd use the Cooperstown, New York, as a good example because Abner Doubleday, which most people realize had nothing to do with inventing the game of baseball. It pretty much evolved from stickball rounders, and the father of baseball, Henry Chadwick, is considered, and he's the guy that basically created the box scores, the batting average, the ERA. He provided the basis basically for the records of the teams and the players, and he's credited with facilitating the popularity of the sport to the Americans through statistics. And if you think I'm wrong there, he's in the Hall of Fame, but Abner Doubleday is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That should tell you right there that he had nothing to do with the invention of the game.
But Champ, I mean, we're getting caught up in the invention of the game. The point is, wouldn't you say that Cooperstown is one of the meccas of the sport of baseball in America? Period. It's like if you're a baseball fan, you want to go to Cooperstown. So if you have a great facility in Cooperstown, shouldn't you be playing your state championships in Cooperstown? Doesn't that just make sense?
Yeah, and I agree because that means they play the college football championship game in Notre Dame.
Well, that's true.
Well, no. Where's the College Football Hall of Fame? It's in
South Bend.
South Bend.
I thought the football.
I go yes on that one.
What's in Atlanta then?
Atlanta's the. Oh gosh, which one is it? Which Hall of Fame is in Atlanta?
It's not basketball because that's in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's in Kansas City, which it should be in Kentucky, but that's neither here nor there.
I don't know.
I mean, look. At the end of the day, I kind of see both points in keeping it in Columbus because it's a centralized location for everyone. But I also see the point of Canton because, well, Canton is special in terms of the game of football and the relationship that football has always had with Northeastern Ohio.
Yeah, and I just think also I like the stadiums because they're a little more cozy. You know, you put 20,000 fans in Ohio Stadium, it kind of looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you stick them in more of a high school stadium, that looks much better. In just my opinion. But anyways, I think that when you talk about these two teams, first of all, I'll use Girard as an example. When Girard was in a few years back, I think they were just happy to be there. But I think these are two schools that have been there, have done that, especially with Warren JFK, and Springfield's coming back a second year. I think that last year was probably they were just happy to be there. This year they're there to win the game. I think that's the difference. And JFK obviously is a school that's been there before, and and they would like to tack on another championship for sure. Their school, but I think they both have a really good chance of winning these ball games because I think they've proven along the way that they're getting better, like most championships do. They're playing better defense, and some of the way that Springfield has won their games has just been it's just destiny. I guess is the best word to describe the way they're playing right now. But I think it's a good possibility that both these teams could bring home. I think we've only had 1 year we had 2 championships in the same year. I believe that was 2009, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the only time we've had 2 championships in the same year.
Well, Mooney and Ursuline both won in 2009. Mooney beat DeSales 35-7. Ursuline pounded Coldwater 55-25. Yeah.
It's amazing. There's one team in that conference that doesn't have any football titles, but the reason why they don't have a football program, that's New Knoxville. They don't have a football program, so that's why. But, the other sports, and I'm sure you saw this, Ron, the other sports, all the other sports combined, they have 127 championships, state championships in this conference from all the other sports, whether it's volleyball, cross country, golf, basketball, wrestling, baseball, track and field. It's just a dominant conference from top to bottom. And I think your point is very well taken. When you look back at this conference started in 1972, and half the conference is still in there, and they've only added, 5 teams since then. They've been pretty much the same teams in the same conference for years and years and years. And, when you switch conferences around all the time and you create these new conferences like sometimes what's been happening lately in our valley, it's hard to get into any type of rivalries or continuity. But that's, I think, why they just have stuck together. And it's just amazing that the same teams have been around since 1972. It's just incredible to me.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why they've had so much success in every single sport. And we'll say it again, every single team has won a state championship in one sport with all the sports that we have in the state of Ohio. Now, going back to what you were saying, Champ, I agree with this wholeheartedly. Look, if the ICL, Inter-County League, I'm going to go old school, had they stayed in the Inter-County League and maybe gotten a couple of other teams, well, who knows? Maybe we would have had a couple of state champions from that league. If the Tri-County League had stayed together, if the Mahoning Valley Conference had stayed together. But now that we have everyone now firmly planted in a league, can we now have some stability for the next 15, 20 years where everyone is in the same league? Because I think if we do, we'll have, I don't know if we'll have the same amount, but we will have this close to the same amount of success that the Midwest Athletic Conference does. I think one of the reasons why the Midwest Athletic Conference is what they are is because of the stability that they have had all of those years. We need to have stability in our leagues and conferences. So now that everyone has a seat, stay where you are for the next 20 years and let's see what we can do.
Yeah, I feel bad because this area is pretty much kind of developed into a smaller conference area in terms of the football conferences. And it's really tough for Harding and for Fitch and the Boardman now that are in Division II right now. It's hard for them to schedule within this area. They have to go outside the area a lot. That's why Boardman and Fitch did that short stint when they joined the Federal League. But unfortunately, but the other teams, my gosh, we should be having these same conferences all the time. And you're right, the Inter-County League, I remember that. That was a great conference, and it lasted a long time. And plus, it's lost me because I keep everything manually. They keep changing these conferences around, and I'm just tired of getting all new notebook paper out and trying to restructure these things. It's screwing with my system big time. Okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, it's tough. And but you know what? And real quick, I'm going to switch to the NFL real quickly, Ron, because I know you talked about how Buffalo and it could come down to that Buffalo-Miami game. Well, actually, what's important for Buffalo is the week before they played New England, and the one thing they have right now, because if they do lose to Miami, as you know, head-to-head they'd be 1-1. The next tiebreaker is record within the division, and right now the Bills are unbeaten; they're 4-0, and Miami's got 2 losses. So if the Bills were one more game, which is that New England game the week before, they would clinch the tiebreaker based on the division record, so they could still lose that game, tie with Miami, and still win the division. So I think that New England game the week before is really important to Buffalo to win that game, so they can clinch that tiebreaker, step number 2 in the divisional record.
Yeah, and given the fact that New England upset Baltimore last night in a driving rainstorm, I'm still not convinced that Belichick isn't going to make a run.
Yeah, I don't know how you can get upset though, because you witnessed the Music City Miracle. I mean, you can't get much worse than that. I mean, you're pretty much you can accept anything, just like me. After
These
the
people are
Immaculate
just
Reception, I'm
gabbing
fine,
here
man.
all day. I love it.
This isn't Music City. The Music City Miracle was a Music City mugging because it was a forward pass.
It was a straight pass.
Bull crap. Wasn't a straight pass. The ball went from the 25 to the 26.
Let's play it on this TV that turned itself on.
You know,
I'll switch them
you
on.
you had Emmanuel on earlier, and he said that he's kind of over that Mooney loss in 1973. But you know what? I ran into a friend of his, and they still meet on Wednesday nights, a support group. Still talk about that game, so he isn't over it yet.
Hey, let me tell you something. I still see my psychiatrist wide right. Someone mentions it, I start getting the shakes.
Yeah, well, I know one thing. Whenever I go to work and someone tells me to tuck my shirt, I says, "What are you talking about? You talking about that Raider game?" Because the tuck rule. So I get upset about that one because that was one of the worst calls of all time, also. But anyways, looking forward to this weekend, and I'm just glad. Keep your fingers crossed. We'll get this thing finished up, and believe me, I think it's more impressive than winning a state championship would be finishing the season under the conditions that our whole country's going through right
Watch
now.
out, champ. The Chiefs are coming for you this week.
Hey, listen, I hope that we can start the basketball season on time, but it's beginning to look more and more like that might not be a possibility.
Yeah, do you think that Raiders can beat the Chiefs 2 times? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But you know what? Yesterday's performance defensively for the Raiders was the best defensive game I've seen in 15 years come from that team. Whatever reason, they're getting all their guys back, but that's going to be a tall. But they know they can beat them. But I don't know. But if the Raiders do beat the Chiefs, then the division's up in the air now.
Well,
if not, then the Raiders will go for wild card.
They'd still be a game back, right?
Right, but they'd have the tiebreaker, so they'd actually almost be like a half game out because they would have 2 wins over Kansas City. But that's going to be a tall task. Although the Raiders are playing pretty good football right now, so this is a good time for them.
Well, hang on a second. If you can beat Kansas City with a Hail Mary, can we jab Anthony like you guys have been sticking me? Oh, my Lord.
You know why? Because they may end up meeting again. I never say anything bad about a team until the season's completely over. Then I'll go all over them.
Okay.
Until the season's over, I'm really superstitious about that, man. I'm not going to say all the teams are on their schedule, the Raiders, they're all great teams. All of them are great teams.
All right, that sounds
until the
good.
season's over.
Yep.
Okay? All right, guys, good talking to you. Good show, and looking forward to this weekend.
All right, Champ, always a pleasure.
Take care.
Champ on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Man, someone brings up the Music City mugging. Good Lord.
Miracle.
There wasn't no
There are
miracle.
no flags on the field.
It was a miracle that those blind-ass referees couldn't see the obvious. That's the miracle.
Straight line.
Straight line, my bail. Straight line if you're drunk. 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit. Stick around.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2222. 2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Ruud gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Ruud, and so should you.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before, but 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Ruud. Michael relies on Ruud, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Points presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a new or used automobile, you need to check out the great folks at Greenwood Chevrolet. They've got a great service department, a great finance department, and a fantastic sales department. And if you get all three of those, you've got quite a dealership. And that's exactly what Greenwood Chevrolet is, a fantastic dealership.
And also, you can go to Greenwood's Facebook, and I give them a plug here, and they have a post that they posted on November 2nd, and they're having a drawing where you can win a $250 Giant Eagle gift card if you go to that post and comment on it by November 23rd. So you have another week to do that, and holidays are coming up. A lot of
Hey,
people
with
are
Thanksgiving. That's a lot of turkeys.
A lot of people
you
are
can buy.
tight for money right now. It might be a good idea to kind of go in there and enter a drawing to win a $250 gift card from Giant Eagle on Greenwood Chevrolet's Facebook. So head over to there.
Indeed. And, like I said, with Thanksgiving coming up and, haven't had your turkeys yet, that is it's a fantastic place. Speaking of turkeys, 42 years ago tonight, the infamous, dare I say, greatest 6 minutes of television in the history of television occurred. The Thanksgiving episode of WKRP in Cincinnati. Have you ever seen this?
You're gonna have to give me a history lesson.
Oh my goodness! No. As soon as the show is over, the last 6 minutes, comedic genius by the people at WKRP in Cincinnati. The writers, phenomenal. 42 years ago tonight, one of my favorite shows. It was short-lived. I think it only lasted like 4 or 5 years on CBS. WKRP in Cincinnati. The infamous Thanksgiving episode happened 42 years ago tonight. Hilarious. Final
you
6
say
minutes.
it's hilarious, but infamous means that it's not like. Is there something that's really controversial about it?
No.
Okay.
It goes down as one of the greatest.
Okay.
One of the greatest holiday specials.
Usually, that word infamous is like a negative. If you're infamous, like FDR is a day that will live in infamy.
Yeah.
Because it's not famous, it's infamous.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when I hear that word, I was like, oh, geez, did someone go off and start
comic genius?
Okay.
Yeah, comic genius.
I thought like someone went off and started to rant. Like there are some TV things where they are infamous, but okay. So it was
comic genius.
Positive. It was good.
Yeah, this is positive. I laughed my ass off the moment I saw this, and unfortunately, we didn't have VHS and VCRs and all that other stuff back then. I laughed hysterically when we aired this the first time. And it's still funny to this day. So there you go. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. And I got something in my eye, and I cannot figure out what the hell it is, but there we go, I think. Hopefully that is not going to be the case this weekend with any of our programs with JFK and Springfield. Don't have any eye problems. Hopefully everyone is all set, ready to go, play some football, and go 2-0 against this conference and stick it to these kids. Yeah, just stick it to them. Like you've been sticking it to me today about the Hail Mary.
Callers. It's not me. I'm not. I'm not planting in callers.
I mean, you're kind of.
I've been laughing with them.
Yeah. You've been kind of poking the little prod toward me too, going. Okay, whatever. Yeah. You better hope and pray that the Kansas City doesn't get beat that way.
Well, you can't say anything because we still beat you. Camp can say all he wants, but we beat Buffalo. So
no, this is true.
You can't say anything.
I'm good with 7-3 at this point. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. Now, we'll take a couple of weeks off, get healthy, and get ready to play the final 6 games of the year.
So let's go back to what we asked Dana about. We're at the end of fall sports. We've gotten through it. There's been a couple of, hiccups. I mean, in football, it's weird because of this argument about, outdoors is better because, indoors is going to be more difficult. But when you look at volleyball, I might be corrected, but I don't think we had any shutdowns in the whole volleyball tournament.
I don't believe so.
And everyone gets in just like football. So it's weird when you look at that and, the science or whatever says that, it's safer to be outside in open air things. But then you look at, the indoor sport like volleyball where nothing went wrong. It might validate the early sense that volleyball was a low-contact sport. Football was a high-contact sport, so it took longer to give it a green light. There might be some validity to that when you see the 24 games in the state of Ohio tournaments for football.
Yeah, 24 playoff games were canceled.
Had COVID problems. Now, you can't really prove that was based on what they were doing with football. But there might be a correlation between the high contact of football and the higher numbers of the COVID problems that football had compared to the volleyball and even the soccer. I know it was deemed a high contact sport for a while, but I don't think it had any problems either.
We didn't have any problems.
So it's interesting to look at that and kind of move forward with what made volleyball successful, what made soccer successful compared to to football and what were the differences and trying to move forward with a winter sports season.
And honestly, I'm with Dana. We got to give the fall sports an A+. I mean, I didn't think we would finish the football season.
Dana didn't even think we would start a football season.
Yeah, exactly.
But we did, and we got through it. And
one
more week.
Let's get through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and hopefully, knock on wood, we don't have a cancellation.
No one's going to make the same mistake they made for basketball. I mean, if they make the trip to Columbus, we're playing. We're not going to do what we did for the basketball teams and pull them off the court.
And my fear has always been, okay, what happens if one of these schools, and then we won't even talk local because I don't want to put any juju on anybody locally. Let's say that there's a severe COVID outbreak at Kirtland, and they're unable to play their game against Ironton. I mean, I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to have that conversation with anyone. Even the team that we now hate because they ruined South Range's perfect season. I mean, I don't want to put that on anybody. That's how do you have that conversation with a team and say, oh, by the way, you're not playing in the state championship game and you're going to finish runner-up, not because you aren't good enough, but because you have a COVID outbreak in your school and we're not able to play the game.
I think it might work to all these teams' benefits that a lot of schools are going remote right now because, hey, that means we're going to be quarantined. We only have to worry about ourselves and in practice. And as long as we take care of our own business and take care of our own protocols, we don't have to worry about being around other people that might not be. And I think that's when Dana brought up, how can you go remote but still go in sports? Well, that's the factor that, goes into it. When you're not remote and you're doing sports, there are so many variables when you're going to school about what other kids that aren't in sports are doing outside of school compared to how are they following, but when you're in a sport, you're in that gym or field and practice facility, whatever it may be, and that's it. That it's completely controllable circumstances. The variables are all controlled, so I think that's how they get away with it.
And I'm fine with, okay, we're all going to be in remote learning, and depending on what Governor DeWine decides to do based on numbers, I guess we'll find out in a couple of days what he is going to throw down in terms of the law. But I'm with Dana on something. Look, if it's remote learning, but you have your state championship weekend, I got no problems. You got to play the state championship. We've gone this far. Play the state championship weekend. But I'm not starting a basketball season if we're seriously going to have all the schools in the state of Ohio go remote. I can't do that. How can you justify saying our kids are not allowed to go to school, but we're going to have athletics? You can't justify
It's because
that.
of what I said. It's the uncontrollable variables about putting, let's say, like for South Range example, there's 100 students per class. So you're putting 400 kids in a high school. That's a lot different than saying, hey, 20 of them can go practice in the gym for 2 hours a night or whatever it may be and play games. Because there's a lot more you can control in that. There are so many uncontrollable variables when you're going to say everyone's going to be in the school for in-person learning because there are so many kids and they're doing whatever they want to do outside of school and you know what I'm saying? It's like
are all the extracurricular activities going to be allowed?
That's the
because
big
if
thing.
they aren't,
like
then
if you're having athletics, you also have to allow people to do the play.
Exactly.
Or whatever it may be.
You have to have band. You have to have theater. You have to have Spanish club. You have to have whatever other clubs outside of sports. You got to have that.
The same argument for sports is going to be made for those clubs and those non-curricular that it's only us, and we're controlling what we can control, and there are no outside variables.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. If you do athletics with remote learning, you also have to have an avenue.
You have to have all the
for
others.
other extracurricular activities.
Because if you don't, you're sending a terrible message.
Right.
I mean, look, it's no secret that sports is our jam, and sports is our... did I just say that? Good
you
Lord,
did.
I just sounded
I'm so proud of you, Ron.
I just sounded so white right
this
now.
This is my jam.
That's where our bread is buttered. It's our jam.
That's where
it's our jam, yo. So, but in all honesty, if we're not doing the same, if we're not extending the same courtesy to the non-sports aspect of school,
you're going to deal with a lot of hot water.
Oh my goodness, hypocrisy. No, you don't need that. There's enough hypocrisy in this world. You don't need to add on to that.
Because if the basketball teams are practicing in the gym, they're not going to be anywhere close to the theater kids that are practicing in the auditorium. It's not like you have to put all these kids in the same spot, so they're going to be very distant. And like I said, the same argument that's going to be made for sports. Hey, this is very controllable. It's 20 kids, whatever. They're all following the protocols. We're temperature checking them before they go into practice. Yada yada yada. You can do all that with all the other extracurricular activities and have no problems. The problem with the school, like going to school during the day, is the uncontrollable variables of putting 400 kids in a building, and with some schools a lot more, like Fitch and Boardman, whatever, what it may be. That's a lot of uncontrollable variables because those kids can be outside of school doing, whatever. There's so many uncontrollables.
Yeah. Now, you and I talked a little bit about this before we went on the air. There are some basketball scrimmages that are starting to
I've seen on social media that there have been some schools that have just canceled scrimmages for the week, which is big because it's the week leading up to the season. So we'll see what that kind of correlates into. I don't know if it's just a couple of schools having some issues with COVID, or if they're deciding to go remote so they don't want to do scrimmages before there's a decision on basketball. But not saying that all scrimmages across the state have been canceled or all scrimmages across the area have been canceled. I have just seen a couple of schools on social media put out, hey, our scrimmages this week have been canceled. So it's definitely happening around the area.
Girls basketball starts this week. Boys basketball starts after Thanksgiving. Typically Black Friday or the Saturday after Thanksgiving are the first games around the state of Ohio in boys high school basketball. And I'll tell you, I had the birthday boy on Friday, and I'm really looking forward to basketball this year, and hopefully we have a basketball season. I'm getting so tired of assuming, or not assuming. I'm tired of trying to figure out if we're actually going to have something because of COVID. The vaccine can't come fast enough as far as I'm concerned.
And a lot of girls technically start this week. Not every team in the state, but starts this week. Like, for example, a lot of teams in the YSN area start on the 30th. That's 2 weeks from today. I know Poland starts on the 30th. So that kind of weekend, the weekend before that, is when usually all teams will be in full effect. So if you're going to make a decision about basketball, it better be soon.
No two ways about it. And I think that when Governor DeWine sits down and has his press conference, when was it? Thursday was the...
I think he did it Wednesday, and he said in a week.
Yeah, okay. Well, then this coming Wednesday...
I'm going to count to 10.
Yeah, this coming Wednesday, and there's a terrific meme going around in social media where you see a picture of a window, and there's a turkey on the table, and you see Governor DeWine's bug eyes that are popping up,
like the neighbor in Home Improvement.
With the neighbor from Home Improvement looking around,
what's his name?
Looking like this, going. It starts with a W.
I'll think of it.
No, it starts with a W. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, Mr. Wilson. Yeah, where he would look just.
And he'd always do fun
above
things
the bridge of the nose.
He'd always do fun things where you think they're going to reveal his face, and then he's like, he finds ways to hide it.
Yeah. And then the last episode of Home Improvement, he finally showed his face.
Right.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. All right, 330-886-0813. How the hell did we get to Home Improvement?
Because you brought up the meme.
I brought up the meme with the wine. All right, there we go. I mean, it's not a bad thing to not go to Home Improvement. It was one of the better shows.
We always have to get one pop culture reference a show. It's on our quota.
No, I think we did two.
We've done a couple
and you still have to see this WKRP in Cincinnati last 6 minutes of the show. It's hilarious.
I'll YouTube it after the show.
Oh God, it's hilarious, absolutely hysterical. All right, MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. Ron with you alongside Anthony with you for another about 30 minutes or so. Then we make way for Power Hour, DJ and the boys. Quinn, who we talked basketball with on Friday, He's the JV coach for the Lisbon boys, and man, I knock on wood, hope that we have basketball. I really think we made some great improvements the last few years in basketball in terms of how well this area has done against out-of-town teams in the sectional and district tournaments. I think that we're on our way. I think we're definitely on our way to being a whole lot more competitive.
I think we
in
have
basketball.
A handful of teams in the girls and then a couple of teams in the boys that could really make deep tournament runs, and really have a chance to get out of a region. To be honest, I mean, I think Cheney, they're dealing with unfinished business. They were in the top 16 last year in the boys, and then the season got cut off. And that's a team that you have to look at and be like, man, they are really revving up for a very strong season. And then on the girls' side, the one team that stands out is West Brand.
Yeah.
They were the team that they were in the state semifinals. They got called off the court. They got Coach DeShields is going to be very motivated to get his team back there. They have I think they have 3 or 4 seniors that are going to be leading that team. And I think they're going to be just as good. I mean, I know they lost a lot, but Coach DeShields seems to always rebuild. So I expect a lot from the Warriors and the Cowboys. And there are other teams that we could get into in a basketball preview episode down the road. But those are the 2 teams that I really think have a really strong chance to get out of their region and maybe get into the state tournament.
Well, it's going to be an awful lot of fun, and knock on wood, we have that fun. We'll see what happens in the next couple of days.
Cheney will probably have to run into Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary at some point,
hey.
and you gotta be the best. You gotta beat the best.
That's it. And your inner Ric Flair just came out. I need to hear you go woo though.
Woo.
Yeah. Well.
Woo.
I
don't know. I'm not a big. I like you say Ric Flair. I had to take a minute to think. I'm not big on wrestling, but then it caught me.
Yeah. We'll work on your woo.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll work on that. Maybe we'll fit you with one of his robes.
I can send you his gift. That's about all.
Okay. There you go. Oh Lord. All right. Well, before we even get to the winter sports, we still have a little unfinished business, that's 2 teams that are still hanging tough and going to the state championship game. And over the weekend or before the weekend, I made the comment I want to see in a perfect world JFK and Springfield take on the 2 teams left from the Midwest Athletic Conference, and lo and behold, the sports god, small g, answered the prayer, small p. And we get to have some fun this week.
Yeah, and New Bremen was close. It was a really Cold Water beat up the team. I mean, I think it was 40-27.
Yeah.
But New Bremen, like I said, they were up 28-20 with the seconds winding down. Their opponent scored a touchdown to make it 28-26, and they were. I'm not kidding. There was a great photograph on social media by one of the reporters covering the game. He was this short from getting into the end zone and tying that game up. He pulled the Dyson from the Titans-Rams Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be tough to be that close. And not get
that's tough. That's tough.
And his knee was barely down, too. I mean, it was one of those things where his body was still up in the air, but his knee caught the ground. It was tough.
JFK will be taking on New Bremen. New Bremen looking for their first state championship. Warren JFK has been to the state title game 5 times. They are 2-3 in state title games.
By the way, New Bremen, a team that's really known for their volleyball.
Yes.
Their volleyball program is ridiculously good. They lost in the state championship this year, but they have a lot of history on that volleyball program. So nice to see that their other athletics are kind of coming through a little bit, and they're getting a football team in the state too. So, we've talked about it. These schools that are having multiple successes in different sports, it's becoming more and more of a thing. And that's just good for high school sports.
No, it definitely is. And it seems that it's a little contagious, too. You get one program that's winning, and now a couple other programs start to win. Because
it raises the bar. It's
absolutely.
What it does. I mean, you either get to that bar or you you're okay with mediocrity.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 choices.
For my alma mater, seeing Leetonia make a pretty nice run where they get bounced in the quarterfinals in the state playoffs in Division 7, well, now I have some hope where – okay, the football team just, 3 years ago they were winless. And here they are, 2 straight years of having a winning program. They get to the state playoffs this year. They go to the quarterfinals, which would be the equivalent of being in the state playoffs in a 10-game format, because that's when you took the top 8 teams. So I have hopes that Leetonia basketball, the boys and girls basketball programs are going to be much better, and that the track and field and softball and baseball programs are going to be much better. Hopefully that's the case.
How you build a winning culture is you get kids that learn how to win. That's the first step. And Leetonia is, I can say it now, for sure, those kids know how to win games. They're not playing not to lose. They know how to win, and that's going to carry over to basketball, hopefully. And that's, we've talked about their basketball team during quarantine, and one of the things that was their problem was they were playing not to lose instead of playing to win games.
Yeah.
They didn't have that winner's mentality because they competed just fine last year. They just didn't make those game-winning plays.
Yeah.
So now those boys know how to win. They have the winning mentality. Now they just have to go in and do it.
You know, Coach Dennis, this is his second year, and last year they won 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 games. They were within 5 points in 7 games this year. 7 losses, they were within 5 points. Now think about that. You convert 4 of those. Now you're looking at a 7-win or an 8-win season. I'm really excited. And I don't think Leetonia is going to, win the league or anything like that. But I'm genuinely excited that this program is going to take a gigantic step forward from 3 wins to possibly getting to 500, which I think is a gigantic step. You get to 500 this year, then now you're starting to put together a program where if you take another giant step and go from 11 wins to 17 or 18 wins, now things get interesting.
And taking those steps, it not just builds your program in the high school level, but then the young kids see it. They want to be a part of it. They work harder to be a part of it.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you're starting to build a program instead of just building a successful season. So
Yeah.
You just got to keep taking steps.
And I think that any team that can take a page out of JFK's book or Springfield's book or some of, name a team.
Yeah, like, look, I mean, the middle school kids that are watching the JFK boys and the Springfield boys football team, you don't think they're amped up to go to work and try to be a part of this varsity program? Yeah, it's just it builds a program when you can be successful like this. So I don't expect Springfield or JFK to drop off in the next 3 or 4 years because this run is going to raise the bar for everyone in their program.
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer that if you can continue to do this, everything from the ground up is now a cycle where you now have greatness from the bottom all the way to the top.
That's how champion softball is so good. I mean, that's how Kirtland football. It's when success breeds hard work and it breeds passion to be a part of the program.
Yep. From
the bottom. So that's what you got to do. And I'm excited for the future of Springfield and JFK. It's going to be fun. I love watching middle school kids kind of look up to the varsity kids and want to be a part of that program.
Absolutely. And some of them volunteer to be water boys and whatnot.
We've both coached middle school level basketball, and just to see the what it means to those middle school kids when the varsity team shows up at their game.
Yeah.
Because it happens a couple of times in middle school because they play on Mondays and Wednesdays. I was coaching girls, so they played on Mondays and Wednesdays. And on Wednesdays, the girls team would kind of show up after practice and catch the end of like the 8th grade game. And it was just like the play just went up a level when the varsity team would come into the gym because you want to be a part of that. You love that the team's supporting you. And it just the programs that know that you have to build from the ground up are the ones that end up being successful.
We had our kids. And it was only one practice. We had our kids practicing with the varsity kids. And for the rest of the year, that's all they were talking about. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God, we had so much fun working with those kids, Coach. It was great. And I'm like, okay, well, in a couple of years, return the favor. When we're good, in a couple of years, I want you guys to return the favor. When the junior high kids that are in 2nd and 3rd grade right now, when you're in high school and they get to junior high, you better do the same thing with them. Oh, no problem. And the other time, they're practicing. We're going on the road. I think we were playing Lisbon, if I'm not mistaken. And Coach Dennis stops practice as we're walking. We got all our stuff. We're starting to walk out of the gym. Coach Dennis stops practice, and he tells his kids, Wish them good luck. I was like looking back going, these kids, they remember this stuff. I mean, that was cool. That was really cool.
They get it, and I'm sure that Springfield football and JFK football both have, programs where their varsity kids work with the young kids in the summer or maybe in the winter and the off season lifting and things like that. You can't measure the kind of impact that kind of has on the program when your varsities kind of respect and promote the middle school program.
Yeah, that's part of building the culture. That's part of it, and I just I love the idea of the kids, the high school kids. They're being looked up to by the junior high program, and to take some time out of their practice or to sit back and take the time to tutor some of these kids. I mean, it's just great. I think it's fantastic, and it just builds continuity in your program.
Another thing is the coaching staffs that make the whole program a coaching staff. So they're in with the 7th and 8th grade coaching staff. It's not just let's get people. You do whatever you want to do. We'll do whatever we want to do.
Exactly.
I mean, when you're running the same plays in 5th and 6th grade that you're going to run in varsity, so those kids are used to your offensive system by the time they get to 9th grade. That's what I mean, when I coached the girls in the 8th grade, the varsity coach at the time ran a lot of zone defense. Now, in me personally, I don't like being in zone a lot. But because the varsity team didn't a lot, what did we do? We put them in zone a lot. And we just try to prepare them for what they're going to see the next year. If I went and did my own thing and put them in man defense, pressed a lot, then that wouldn't prepare them at all for what they were going to see next year with that coach. So you gotta really be a whole coaching staff. As 7th grade all the way through varsity, and make sure that you're all working together in a cohesive kind of partnership.
And that's the other part of it. Not just basketball, in all sports. In junior high, we got plays that we do. We run an offense. Let's spoon feed the kids in junior high.
It's like if you're in a 7th grade team running the triple option, and the varsity runs a spread.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now these kids have got to learn the spread offense. And that's not going to be a one-day kind of a thing. No. This is going over the period of time. So it's always good to, you have to run the same style of offense and defense that your varsity team does.
And then that seems common sense, but I've seen programs in the past not do that. They just hire whoever they want as the middle school coach, and you guys just do your own thing, and we'll worry about them when they get to freshmen.
Yeah.
This is not how you build a program.
And this is the other thing, and you have to try to convince parents that this is a bad thing when parents hear this. Junior high basketball is not about wins and losses. It just isn't.
Especially, I think you got to prepare them for that in 8th grade. You get more competitive in 8th grade.
Yes.
In 7th grade, you were absolutely right. Like
it's
hammered down. You're all about learning the facets of the game.
Yes.
The inner working, the basketball IQ gets leveled up. But when you're in 8th grade, it's kind of a mesh.
Now you're going to start
It's a meshing of the two. You're still working on basketball IQ while you're doing these things.
Yeah.
But you want to get them competitive, and you want to let them learn that, we want to win these games. We need to be in that competitive mindset.
Yeah.
Not saying you don't want to win games in 7th grade. You definitely want to win. It's just
exactly
top of the priority.
But you're not going to be. Not going to be.
I'll put it this way: you're not going to sacrifice teaching the IQs and the ins and outs of basketball for wins.
Exactly. And it's the same thing that can be said for minor league baseball. Minor league baseball, they don't give a crap about wins. All they care about is making sure that the talent that they have goes from one level to the next level. And you're judged on how many kids go to the next level. And nobody gives a crap about championships. I mean, that's okay. It's all nice, well and good, but and I'm going to probably sound a little bitter on this, but if the Chicago Cubs cared about minor league baseball championships, they wouldn't have taken Ryan Theriot away from us in 2005, moments before driving to Jacksonville in Game 1 of the Southern League Championship Series. But it is what it is. It's the same thing. And in junior high, okay, wins are great, but you're not sacrificing wins for not giving kids lessons in the game or improving their IQ, your basketball IQ. No, it has to be a combination of both. So and I was fortunate where kids were winning and learning. Now, we weren't winning as much, but but they definitely learned. And I really look forward to seeing what those kids do when they get into high school, because I think Leetonia's got a very special junior high program. But that's, I'm biased that way. I'm very biased when it comes to that.
You'll be a bit of biased.
I'm going to be biased. If they happen to win in the varsity level, I'm just going to be like, I taught them well. Has nothing to do with you, Coach D. I taught him well.
I taught that kid everything he knows. I am the sensei.
I'm not going to be the guy from Karate Kid that's show no mercy. No. The other
Cobra Kai.
Yeah, the clown from Cobra Kai. Yeah, show no mercy. The hell is that? Yeah, that's good Lord.
Good Lord.
All right, 330-886-0813. Let's take a timeout. Because we need to. The wheels are starting to fall off on the show. Too much.
Not on my chair, but on the show.
Well, no, your chair is in actually good shape, and you got your seatbelt on, so that's good.
Click it or ticket, boys.
Yeah, click it or ticket, and there you go. We'll take a timeout. On the other side, we'll finish up Running Point, a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. Power Hour coming up at the top of the hour. DJ and the boys will have a little bit of fun. I don't know what today is. They always bring out a national day of...
it's usually a surprise.
Should be a national day of mourning in Western New York. I'm just saying.
You brought that one up.
Well, I did. I did.
I was going to let it go for the rest of the show, but
no, I did. I brought it up. All right, JFK in Springfield. JFK at 5 o'clock on Friday, or 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon. My mistake. 2 o'clock Friday afternoon, Warren JFK plays New Bremen. Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock, Springfield taking on Coldwater. It is the battle of the Mahoning Valley against the Midwest Athletic Conference, and this is going to be fun. Both of these games are going to be spirited and all kinds of competition.
It's going to be great, and I want to encourage people to go over to our Facebook, and we have a question of the day. It's kind of a friendly competition between these two teams and which uniforms look better, because both of them have pretty nice uniforms. We've matched Springfield's away white jerseys with the JFK home blues, and which ones you think will look better. So go head over to our social media and let us know which ones you like more. And, we'll see who wins the uniform battle between these two teams.
All right, let me just throw this out.
I'm kind of leaning towards Springfield. I like the Springfield helmet, and it's just it's a killer uni.
No, it's a good uniform.
But I actually like their all blacks a little bit better. I dig the all blacks.
From a broadcaster standpoint, it's not good.
You
got to have the white uniforms from a broadcaster standpoint, because the black with the orange, it doesn't. It's tough to look at.
Did a volleyball game this year. I think it was Coventry. They had yellow jerseys with white numbers. It wasn't fun.
Yeah,
wasn't fun.
Some of those ADs need to get a lesson in
I get it, because they're not used to someone broadcasting all their games, but they're going to get used to it because we're taking over the world.
Yeah, we're taking over the world. Montgomery Burns is going to be the guy that does this. Excellent. I'll tell you what would be excellent. Would be, and hopefully these two state championship games, pairing our best against the best from this conference. Honest to God, and I've been calling for this for years, I would absolutely love to see some of our elite D5, 6, and 7 programs get on the horn and call some of these teams in this conference and say, home and home, week whatever you guys want to do. You guys have your conference game starting in week number 4. Our conference game starting week number 4. Week 1, week 2, week 3, home and home. Let's get Minster into town. Let's get Coldwater into town. Let's get Maria Stein Marion local. I would love to see multiple teams from our area reach out to that league and say, let's do a home and home. For a Saturday night, I think it would be phenomenal.
Sound kind of savage, but I want one of our D2 or D3 teams to do it and just stomp them a little bit and put some varnish on that sign so we can stop praising this league like they're
get it, but they don't have any D2 or D3 schools. I mean, I want to see South Range and Springfield and JFK and McDonald.
We're going to see two of those teams.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully we go 2-0 against them.
Because, like I said, I mean, like the conference is great, but these two teams, Coldwater hasn't been there since 2015.
Yeah, they haven't won since 2015.
And
you are correct.
Bremen hasn't won or hasn't been there.
Yeah, we got to look and see if New Bremen has actually even played in a conference or in a state title game.
So, yes, their conference is great, but it's not like David and Goliath here. I mean, JFK and Springfield, they're going to be fine.
Isn't.
Let's do this. Let's rock the boat. Let's win a state champion. Let's win 2 state championships.
It would be nice
because YSN has been to this state tournament for their 4 years of football coverage, but we haven't gotten a championship yet. So we want one.
1987 was the first time that we sent multiple teams to the state championship. Boardman went to the state title game, lost to Cincinnati Princeton 14-7. Cardinal Mooney knocked off Thornville Sheridan 30-7. 1989, we sent 3 teams to the state title, and all 3 teams unfortunately lost. Ironton lost to Camel Camel lost to Ironton 12-7. JFK lost to Wheelersburg 17-7. Wheelersburg. And Minster knocked off McDonald 16-7. Let's see. 1994, West Branch beat Clyde. Wellsville lost to Versailles, and McDonald lost to St. Henry. So we won 1 and 2 against the area there. All right, let's get to the phone lines. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's up?
Hi, Ron. Tony.
What's up, Tony?
Hey, New Bremen's never been there before, so
Okay, no titles. I didn't know if they were there or not.
they've never been there. And here's a fact on Coldwater. Though they and remember we had this argument 4 years ago about Kennedy going up against an invincible team, and these teams are impressive. Let's not be stupid about it. But Coldwater's been there 13 times. They've only won 6.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, they're not invincible. They're below 500 in state championship games.
And they have, like, no one on this roster has been there.
Yeah. Okay. Nor Kennedy's roster.
That's true.
Or Springfield's roster. They were there last year, right?
Yeah, they were there last year.
Coldwater.
Yeah.
Okay, Coldwater. Yeah. Okay. Real quick, can I compare? If I'm running out of time, that's fine. Take off. But this Kennedy team to the Kennedy team from 16.
Yeah.
Real quick, they had Evan Boyd was there. He was state player of the year in Division 7.
Yep.
Cam will get that same deal this year, so that's it's a toss up there. You think, but Cam does significantly more. He's every bit the linebacker that Evan Boyd was, and I think Evan played kind of a nickel defensive back. He rotated around a lot, but Cam is twice the defensive player that he was, and offensively, he's a lot more of a weapon than Evan Boyd was. And Evan Boyd beat the hell out of Minster. He just destroyed them.
Yeah, he did.
So, and I think that's what. Now, the two speedy receivers, two speedy guys, defensive back receivers. You had Jake Coates. Jake Coates he struggled with a hip, a broken collarbone, hamstrings. He struggled with a lot of that last year in high school. He only played defensive back, and he played it extremely well against Minster. But he didn't have a lot of offense that he could add. You've got the kid going to the Air Force Academy. It's drawing a blank right now.
Jesse Likens.
Likens.
Yeah, Jesse Likens. Thank you. He's going both ways, and he's healthy. So speed-wise, I think Jake probably has a tick on him, but this kid's got all the speed he needs at this level. So. And the rest of the team, I think they're both loaded with depth players. So it's hard for me to say this, but this team may be a tick better than the 16 team.
It's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun game on Friday when they take on New Bremen. New Bremen got my attention when they beat Maria Stein Marion Local after losing to them in week 1. And they barely got to the state title game by a foot as they were able to thwart a 2-point conversion. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun all the way around.
They beat Fort Laramie too, another team in the MAC.
Yes, yeah, they
beat back-to-back teams in the MAC.
Yeah, they're a good team. They're a good team, but I don't think they've run
all
up
these teams. All these teams there are good teams. So. It's going to be interesting. You know what? I don't want to stir anything up, but the most impressive game I saw this weekend was the Chardon game.
Oh my God, they were unbelievable.
Yeah, Chardon and you know what? Kudos to Canfield. They wouldn't think it's a really good team.
Yeah.
So
no two ways about it.
And you know what? Maybe they may be the second best team in the state when it all ends up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, we'll see. Tony, we got to get skedaddling, man.
Have a good day, guys.
All right, see ya. That'll do it for the show. And Anthony's off to watch the iconic final 6 minutes of the famous Turkey episode on WKRP in Cincinnati. I expect a full report on Wednesday. Yeah, we're gonna
better live up to it.
Trust me, especially the last line is one of the funniest things ever uttered on television. We'll just leave it at that. All right, Power Hour is coming up next.